55-year-old Sang-yan Shin stands exhausted on a battlefield, wondering what he is even doing with his life. Monsters surround him in a cave, forcing him to raise his sword again. He faces down a dragon and tells the beast to give him a break. He complains that while other players his age are hailed as swordmasters, people only call him a senile old geezer. Years ago, a creature grabs one of his fellow orphans, who begs Sang-yan to run. The beast crushes her to death, leaving the young boy kneeling in horror. He watches them slaughter everyone he considers family, because the Great Collapse has just flooded the world with monsters. Covered in blood, young Sang-yan cries alone in the rain, having lost everything he holds dear. Years ago, a monstrous shadow corners him at death's door. Just as he prepares to die, a heavily armored warrior steps in to block the strike. The bleeding boy looks up as the stranger smiles and asks if he is all right. Overwhelmed by the miracle, the young Sang-yan breaks down in tears. He watches the hero crush the beast and longs to become just like him. To reach that dream, he gives everything he has. He desperately bites and claws his way through every battle. Yet no matter how many monsters he slaughters, he never grows any stronger. Because of his weakness, he fails to protect his friends. He is left to cradle his fallen comrades on countless bloody battlefields. Back in the present, an exhausted Sang-yan kneels among the fresh monster corpses. His hands tremble uncontrollably as he curses his failing body, admitting he is getting far too old for this. Facing the monster, Sang-yan realizes he is a complete failure. With no family or friends left, he admits he only has regrets. He cynically calls his life a mess and wishes he could rewind time. Sometime later, he clears the Elder Dragon lair and immediately yells in frustration. At 55 years old, he is sick of working this hard just to remain a nobody. A skill book drops, and he wonders if he can devour it like an artifact. Suddenly, his contracted constellation, the late blooming scholar, appears to praise his decisive finishing move. Sang-yan thanks him. He appreciates the support even though the scholar's bonuses unlock at level A50, and Sang-yan is stuck at level 650. Sang-yan complains that the ridiculous level requirement keeps him from getting any real help. The late blooming scholar urges him to devour the skill book, and he agrees. He gathers his energy. Devour artifact was his only awakening skill, and he even tried boiling items to understand it. Nothing worked, and he spent 30 years searching for an answer. Finally, he learned that sinking his mana with an artifact triggers the ability. He scoffs at how long it took, then opens the black book. When nothing happens, he gets annoyed, but a sudden impact knocks him back. The constellation apologizes for the lack of information and suggests trying again since they have time. Sang-yan Shon screams in disbelief, asking what time he has left. He reminds the constellation that he is old enough to be a grandfather. The scholar apologizes again and Sang-yan kneels, admitting his life is full of regrets. He remembers the hero he desperately tried to emulate, but confesses he is just tired. He wishes he were younger, and the scholar softly smiles. The last thing the 55-year-old Sang-yan remembers is the scholar's soft smile. Suddenly, a swirling purple energy engulfs the area, and his constellation, the late blooming scholar, begins to glow. The scholar initiates a desperate miracle. Back in the present, journalist Jungmin Park and CEO Hyun Jung-han discuss dungeons on TV. Sang-yan watches the nostalgic broadcast while cleaning his knife, realizing he is truly back. He has traveled back exactly 30 years. He remembers waking up in his old apartment as his 25-year-old self, retaining all his memories. He knows the scholar exhausted his energy to perform this miracle. Pushing his confusion aside, Sang-yan confidently draws his dagger of Venomos, vowing to live a different life. Sang-yan initiates a mana sync with the bronze dagger to extract its hidden skill. He enters his mental space, nervous because he never knows what bizarre food his power will serve him. He is shocked to find a perfectly normal rotisserie chicken. Relieved it is not centipede soup, he devours the meal and acquires the Demon Bash skill. The dagger dissolves into the abyss. With a usable skill secured, he decides it is time to go. Later, at the portal for dungeon number 85, the mule captain calls out to Captain Yun. He reports that their new porter, Sang-yan, has not shown up. Yun tells him not to worry, because he moves Sang-yan to the main player team. The mule captain stares in absolute shock. Captain Yun asks if there is a problem with his final approval, and the mule captain protests that the new guy awakened his powers days ago. The mule captain complains that letting him on the team is unfair, because he will take a share of the loot, but Captain Yun cuts him off. Captain Yun asks if they think he has not figured this out, and reminds the mule captain that his party splits loot based on performance. The mule captain nervously apologizes and Captain Yun mutters that these losers only whine about fairness. When his men ask why he took the rookie in, Captain Yun explains that they lose nothing if the rookie dies, and his death will silence the mules. His men laugh at what a level 1 can do, just as Sang-yan Shin arrives and cheerfully introduces himself. Sang-yan announces he is starting as a player today, and the veterans exchange hostile glares and smirks. Sang Yan sweats under their stares and realizes they are not even trying to hide their hostility. Captain Yun laughs loudly and greets Sang Yan warmly. Noticing Sang Yan's weapon, Captain Yun asks if it is a greatsword, and Sang Yan claims he learned to use it by watching MeTube videos. Captain Yun notes that greatswords are difficult to handle, but Sang Yan promises he will take care of himself. Captain Yun praises his spirit and orders the boys to start the dungeon raid. The hunters drop through the portal, and Captain Yun tells everyone to wait near the entrance once inside. The veterans land and immediately start boasting about how many kills they will rack up today. Watching from behind, Captain Yun scoffs at the MeTube excuse, wondering why this arrogant rookie thinks dungeon raids are a joke. Sang Yan confidently enters the orc dungeon, which a watching player calls the wall of instant regret for newbies. The man smirks and calls Sang Yan a naive moron, who will soon learn a harsh lesson. His smirk vanishes when he finds the monsters already slaughtered, and he wonders who this kid really is. He stares in disbelief. Sang Yan stands over the carnage, radiating blue energy. Because they are common in fiction, overly confident rookies often forget how violent orcs truly are and charge right into their dens. One rookie rushes in, only to be instantly grabbed by the head and left kicking helplessly. Standing 8 feet tall, the monsters prove that the gap in strength is absolute as they crush him. Earlier during the raid, Captain Daegyang Yun warns the new rookie to take care of himself. Sang Yan Shin smiles and promises to try his best. Daegyang angrily dismisses this, mocking his measly skills. Sang Yan simply asks if he can take point when monsters appear. Daeyang starts to refuse, but an orc suddenly attacks. Eager for his first battle since the rewind, Sang Yan draws his sword. Before he can swing, Daegyang steps in and blocks the strike. The captain yells at Sang Yan to move because he is too sluggish with that greatsword. Sang Yan casually declines the help. Daegyang blocks another furious blow, cursing the rookie for being ungrateful. He repels the monster and yells at his frozen teammates to wake up. They quickly apologize, and Daegyang lunges forward. He deflects a heavy swing and stabs the beast in the back. As the monster bleeds, Daegyang lands a powerful strike. His team cheers him on for hitting it right in the heart. The wounded orc roars. Captain Daegyang Yun raises his sword, but the monster smashes him back. Daegyang wonders if his strike was too shallow. Watching the fight, Sang Yan realizes Daegyang is not good enough to hit its vitals. Daegyang swings downward and finally pierces its flesh. The party cheers because their captain took down the beast alone. Daegyang laughs that it was easy and asks if everyone is alright. His team pledges to follow him forever. Suddenly, a horde of furious orcs charges down the corridor. The party panics because they are now facing armored high orcs. Overwhelmed, Daegyang realizes one orc was tough enough. Sang Yan asks if he can try, prompting the furious party to scold him. They warn he will die, but Sun Yai instantly darts past Daegyang to strike. His blade crashes into the horde, tearing right through the heavily armed warriors. Sang Yan happily notes that these great swords are pretty nice. Watching him slice a high orc in half, 3 adventurers stare in shock. Sang Yan reaches level 2, but he wonders if his low level makes the kill feel dull. Suddenly, a group of red-skinned orcs roars at him. A muscular brute charges, and Sang Yan readies his blade. He reminds himself that his low level does not erase his decades of experience. He dodges a heavy swing. He counters with a rising strike. Another monster attacks from above, but he slips away. He asks if they know how many of their kind he slaughtered in his youth. The adventurers cannot believe he is just a rookie. They realize he might actually wipe out the entire horde. Sang Yan steps forward and points his sword. He singles out the armored orc. He declares that it is just the 2 of them now. The giant beast roars. Sang Yan drives a powerful strike into its skull. He slashes again, drawing blood. From the sidelines, an adventurer panics because the beast's armor is too thick. He warns that the cut was too shallow. He screams for Sang Yan to watch out. Sang Yan braces himself. He just smiles and asks what the fuss is about. The orc freezes in confusion. Sang Yan activates Demon Bash, and the monster begins to tremble. Sang Yan presses his great sword against the trembling monster, because his Demon Bash skill guarantees a 2-second stun. He tells the beast to stay still and cleanly slashes it down. The monster hits the floor with a heavy thud, leaving the observing armory players stunned. They cannot believe a newbie who awakened 3 days ago just landed a full stun. Even high-ranking players max out at 1.5 seconds, so they question his ridiculous greatsword skills. The men swallow nervously, terrified that a complete beginner just dismantled an armored orc. Meanwhile, a system interface congratulates Sang Yan on leveling up and awards him a title with an evasion bonus. He also receives a bonus stat point, and he remembers from his past life that luck dictates skill success. The armored party leader steps up, demanding to know where Sang Yan got such an incredible skill. Sangyeon knows he cannot admit he traveled back in time to rewrite his regrets, so he lies and says it appeared upon awakening. The leader furiously accuses him of lying, convinced that Sangyeon must have stumbled upon a diamond-tier artifact. Sangyeon hefts his blood-soaked blade and asks if they want a closer look, prompting the man to nervously agree. A knight checks the greatsword and is shocked to find it empty, realizing the attack was Sangyeon Shin's own skill. The knight groans in frustration. Suddenly, a party member shouts in panic because the mini-boss has spawned. Captain Yoon orders the team to move out, and another member thanks Sangyeon for clearing the trash mobs. However, he warns Sangyeon that his flashy skill will be useless against the approaching demon orc. Sangyeon grins because the demon orc is the exact reason he joined his party. He asks Captain Yoon if he can keep the artifact drop if he kills the boss alone. He wants the red gallstone, an item with a drop rate so low it is almost a myth. In his previous life, Sangyeon failed this raid and watched another team claim the stone. He remembers them celebrating the drop and boasting that it contained the delay skill. Sangyeon knows he desperately needs that skill to survive his new life. Back in the present, he smiles and asks if anyone objects to him taking everything if he solos the boss. Captain Yoon pauses in silence. He waits confidently for their answer. The other party members angrily ask if he is out of his mind for messing with their loot split. Captain Yoon agrees, but warns that Sangyeon only gets the loot if the main party fails. Sangyeon Han happily accepts and promises to hang back. Furious at the rookie's arrogance, Captain Yoon vows to kill the monster quickly to shut him up. The team enters the chamber and confronts the bloodthirsty demon orc. Relying on a purchase walkthrough, Captain Yoon orders his men to flank the beast. He smirks that Sangyeon will never get a turn as they charge forward. Moments later, the severely bleeding captain lies on the ground, wondering what just happened. Sangyeon sighs at their misplaced confidence. The veteran players quickly realize their head-on charge was a mistake. One of them desperately asks Captain Yoon what to do next. As the demon orc batters his team, the captain curses himself for trusting a cheap walkthrough. He orders a retreat, pointing out that they can just skip the mini-boss. Meanwhile, Sangyeon just stands there beaming, which infuriates a bloodied knight. The captain tells his men to ignore the newbie and escape through the side stairs. He warns Sangyeon not to come crying when he is torn to shreds. Sangyeon smirks and grabs his hilt, assuring the captain that will never happen. He confidently draws his blade. The massive beast roars and lunges forward. Sangyeon knows his current stats are completely insufficient to win, but having vowed to live a different life, he uses 30 years of experience to perfectly parry the axe. The monster roars in frustration. The retreating veterans stare in absolute shock that the newbie deflected the attack. Shaking his numb hands, Sangyeon admits that deflecting is his absolute limit right now. Then he spots a chained red orb on the beast and grins. He happily greets the red gallstone, the very item he has been obsessing over. Sangyeon knows his demon boss stuns enemies for 2 seconds. He plans to combine it with a delay skill to achieve a permanent stun lock. He challenges the demon orc to come at him, and the monster groans. The giant beast looms over him and roars. Sangyeon dashes forward to create an opening. He slashes the chained creature across the chest. Activating Demon Bash, he strikes again and successfully stuns the mini-boss. Watching from behind, the veterans panic that a basic skill actually worked. Sangyeon smiles, noting that simple-minded orcs make fighting easy. Suddenly, the monster breaks free and swings its weapon. Sangyeon skids backward, realizing he forgot a crucial detail. The beast uses self-heal to reduce the stun duration. He has to wait 15 seconds before he can stun it again, which is exactly why he needs delay. For now, he decides to fight the old-fashioned way. The monster charges, and Sangyeon meets the heavy strike head-on. The veteran members watch the chaotic battle and urge Captain Yoon to retreat. They note that Sangyeon's stun attack is failing because the orc outclasses him completely. Yet, Sangyeon just smiles. He remembers fighting much stronger enemies in his past life, so he focuses all his power into a single point. Using the beast's own momentum, he thrusts forward. The mini-boss demon orc falls, granting him 2 level-ups. He happily checks his new E-tier demon hunter title. Then he turns around. Captain Yoon and the team stare at him in absolute shock. To avoid awkward questions, Sangyeon loudly claims he only survived because Yoon weakened the monster first. A teammate praises their captain, and a bewildered Yoon hesitantly agrees. Captain Yoon realizes Sangyeon saved him from embarrassment and agrees to honor the loot split. He orders his men to stay alert because they are hunting the final boss next. The veterans cheer, convincing themselves the rookie could never have won alone. Meanwhile, Sangyeon claims his prize, a silver artifact called a red gallstone. Inside his inner space, he absorbs the stone as a meal to gain its power. The item boosts his physical stats, so he applies its delay effect to his demon bash. He smiles, thrilled because his theory worked and secured a guaranteed 4-second stun. Yoon interrupts his thoughts to announce that the Orc Berserker is waiting. Sun Yan tells Captain Yoon to get up. Yun asks if he should wait, but Sung Yan refuses. Yoon admits he would be a terrible captain to ignore such skill, hoping they can cooperate. They fist bump. A teammate announces the boss chamber is ready, so Yoon orders them forward. A blonde teammate urges caution, while a hooded veteran clicks his tongue. Sun Yan notices the glare. The team cheers, eager to finish the fight so they can grab drinks. Inside the final chamber, a figure kneels in the shadows before roaring. The Orc Berserker stands ready. As the monster glares, Yun offers to take the lead. Instead, Sangyan draws his sword and tells the veterans to follow his lead. A teammate warns that berserkers have low skill resistance, making them easier to stun. Sangyan dashes forward, assuring them he will be fine. The creature snarls and swings its weapon. Sanyan wonders when he became so confident, remembering his cowardly youth. He recalls being rejected from parties because his level was too low. He vows to live a different life. He deflects the strike perfectly, knowing he has to change. To honor his second chance, Sangyan readies his strike. He grips his weapon, deciding to show everyone his true dominance. Watching him, a teammate calls him a monster in sheer horror. Sangyan slashes the creature and drives his blade down to finish the job. Activating his level 1 Demon Bash, he secures a 4-second stun. The warriors charge forward to capitalize on the opening. The beast screams and unleashes a frantic barrage of stabs to survive. One teammate notes the run was a breeze because the stun skill saved them potion money. The carriers immediately bicker over who gets to be Sangyan's personal mule. Sangyan smirks at their complete change in attitude, refusing to hire them. He levels up multiple times and acquires the D-tier title with overwhelming power. He checks the title's effect and happily realizes his stun duration just increased. He remembers having terrible luck with titles during his first life. His thoughts shift to Gangsu Do, the strongest swordsman known as the Title Collector. Gangsu reached level 1000 in just 2 years, but Sangyan vows to match his greatness. Captain Yoon asks what he is doing, and Sangyan awkwardly claims he is stretching. After the battle, Captain Yoon praises Sangyan and tosses him a golden ring. Yoon admits Sangyan carried the team, though he jokes it is only a bronze-tier artifact. He laughs, explaining he is only giving it away because they will probably never cross paths again. Sangyan Halen happily accepts his loot, while Yoon admits the rookie is in a completely different league. Nearby, a jealous team member furiously makes a phone call to his boss, swearing revenge. Later, at his apartment, Sangyan beams. He is just as excited about the Berserker Ring, which grants the featherweight passive skill. He realizes the bronze item drains 1 mana per second, which would instantly exhaust an average player. Grinning, Sangyan tells himself he is no average player. He remembers mastering the Devour artifact skill in his past life. He knows that absorbing a mana-draining item like this will yield shocking results. Sangyan initiates a mana sync with the Berserker Ring, because devouring it removes its mana cost. Meanwhile, at a Gangnam nightclub, Yongchul Choi begs his boss to believe him about a rookie with a 4-second stun. He insists the kid is just a rich brat using an artifact, but Baekhyun-mun asks why he should care. When Yongchul admits he wants revenge, Baekhyun asks if he thinks they are just errand boys. Baekhyun severs the man's ear with the sword. He reminds the screaming man that favors come with a price, then asks where to find this rookie. Later, at the Jomsul training center, Sangyan drops his greatsword and feels sick to his stomach. The Berserker Ring tasted exactly like chilled cucumber soup. He hates cucumber soup. He tosses the blade and catches it. It feels incredibly light. The artifact's penalty reduced the weapon's perceived weight to 4 ounces, so he hopes it does not fly out of his hands. Sangyan realizes he must choose a constellation carefully, because players only get one. He hopes to attract one that boosts his luck. Knowing he is too weak for them to appear, he focuses on training. Days later, an exhausted Sangyan regrets a long drive, though he earned a new sword mastery skill. He arrives at a solo dungeon, glad to skip Soul's wait times. Glancing back, he notices a strange car has followed him into the mountains. He decides to deal with them inside. Inside the cavern, 3 armed men appear in a crackle of electricity. Sangyan questions their presence, since this is supposed to be a solo dungeon. Peering into the darkness, Sangyan holds up a small golden coin. Sangyan claims the dungeon as his own, while an intruder admits he doesn't look like an average fool. 3 armed figures emerge, but Sangyan offers to let them leave without a report. Sangyan notices their lack of support magic, realizing they are Team Hyena, a party built to hunt humans. 2 men mock his calm demeanor, threatening to kill him here so no one will know. Sangyan remembers they were wiped out in his past life, and decides to target the archer first. He asks why they think he waited here, smiling as he explains he couldn't dispose of 4 bodies outside. Enraged, one of the men draws his sword to tear the rookie apart. Sangyeon challenges them to attack all at once, prompting the leader to curse before a heavy sword swings down. The massive strike slams the ground as the men dart away, leaving Sangyeon staring them down. He remembers his past life, where he was constantly left bloodied by dungeon monsters. Greedy people hunted him for artifacts, teaching him that the strong survive while the weak get devoured. Sangyeon remembers the harsh lesson of his previous life. To survive, he must kill. Standing over the body, he decides his actions are self-defense and orders the rest to attack. The men scramble to counterattack. They yell to keep shooting until they get into position. One attacker panics because Sangyeon just killed Sango, a level 100 player. Sangyeon advances and asks how long they plan to run. A man with glasses calls him a monster and lunges forward. Sangyeon shatters the incoming spear. The survivors freeze, shocked that Sangyeon just threw his greatsword. They quickly realize this leaves him unarmed. Sangyeon admits he got carried away and the men shout that this is their chance. They rush in, but Sangyeon easily dodges their blades. He meets their charge barehanded. Sangyeon Shin darts forward, slipping past a heavy hammer strike from an attacker who screams for him to die. He blocks the assault and counters with a slash. Inte stares in shock as Sangyeon casually tosses a heavy sword aside, joking about the intensity. A bloody blade hits the dirt, and Sangyeon grabs Huntae from behind as he asks what he is doing. Sangyeon savagely crushes Huntae's face, leaving him screaming in a spray of blood. Sangyeon asks if they run an organ trade because he knows they only came to steal transplant technique. Flashing a maniacal grin, the attacker asks what Sangyeon plans to do about it, swinging his weapon and calling him a moron. Sangyeon just smiles as the blade stops inches from his face, replying that he was only asking. Activating his demon bash skill, Sangyeon tells the man that he only wanted to keep him company while he dies. Trapped and sweating, the attacker realizes in horror that he is completely stunned, wondering when Sangyeon casts the spell. Sangyeon tells the bleeding man it is over. The attacker refuses to die. He remembers how he always killed others alongside his loyal crew. He trembles in confusion. Falling to the ground, he begs for his life and promises to do anything. Sangyeon asks why the killer is flinching. He wonders if the man is scared now that the shoe is on the other foot. Later, Sangyeon wipes his sword and reminds himself he had to kill them in self-defense. He glances at the two swords on the ground. Checking his system, Sangyeon realizes how fast he is growing. His devoured loot already gives him the stats of a level 50 player. Rummaging through the items, he finds a silver recovery ring that removes status effects. Sangyeon sinks his new recovery ring, realizing his reliance on his stun skill could have gotten him killed. Deep inside dungeon number 11, he steps into a dark passage to confront a goblin horde. He ties a blindfold over his eyes. To earn the title, "It's My Lucky Day," he remembers he has to kill 500 monsters without seeing them. The monsters glare at him while Sangyeon asks where the mobs are. He tightens his grip, telling himself to focus entirely on the flow of the atmosphere. He steps forward, tuning out everything else. Sensing a shift in the air, he swings his greatsword and knows he has them. As a goblin swings an axe, Sangyeon cuts through the monsters to clear his path. Standing over the severed limbs, he smirks and notes that those were some clean cuts. He deflects a sudden attack, reminding them he already said he has this under control. A goblin archer takes aim, but Sangyeon explains that his earlier danger forced him to adapt. He realizes the threat reminded him of his past regrets, reawakening his old fighting senses. He invites the rest of the horde to come at him, prompting them to charge. Sangyeon immediately rushes forward to finish them off. The surviving goblins scream as he easily cuts them down. Surrounded by bodies on the tracks, he levels up twice and acquires the D-tier title, "It's My Lucky Day." Sangyeon marvels at his effortless swings, happily checking the new title's effects. He slaughters the remaining goblins because he needs to stack the title's luck effect. Checking his updated status window, he bursts into maniacal laughter. This stat boost is worth 1,000,000,000. Suddenly, crackling red lightning fills the air as 3 constellations make their entrance. A cosmic monster, a cloaked figure, and an ethereal woman float above him. Sangyeon is completely shocked by their early arrival. The goddess of luck suddenly touches his neck, expressing deep interest in his incredible fortune. Sangyeon confidently agrees that luck is his strong suit, but he decides to inspect the others first. The cleaner of a fallen dimension praises his great potential. Turning to the cosmic wanderer, Sangyeon wonders why a saintly constellation would visit him. He assumes the wanderer is only here for her. The goddess of luck speaks next. She surprises him by refusing an exclusive contract, promising not to block other bonds. Sangyeon grins. He remembers Yuki Hashimoto, the mystic archer. But the goddess had simply allowed him 2 constellations. As the 3 entities urge him to choose, Sangyeon laughs at the pressure. He hesitates. He's terrified that if he rejects them, no other constellation will ever appear. Years ago, only the late-blooming scholar chose him. It felt like hope, but his pitiful life never changed. Because the scholar's powers required level 850, he never dared to hope he could use them. Sangyan knows he must choose his constellation carefully, because he will never get a second chance to rewind his life. Weighing sacred power, destruction, and unrivaled fortune, he makes his choice. He confirms his contract with the goddess of luck. 15 constellations send congratulations, while 3 vow to hinder his growth. Sangyan wonders why they cannot mind their own business, but brushes it off. Taking her hand, he tells the goddess it is a pleasure to work with her. He checks his new bonuses and is stunned. Guaranteed critical hits, guaranteed artifact drops, and doubled luck stats. This overwhelming advantage more than makes up for his past hardships. When she asks about the other 2 offers, he casually dismisses them, explaining he needs to focus entirely on her. The Cosmic Wanderer and the Cleaner of a Fallen Dimension withdraw, vowing to return for his head. Sangyan asks the goddess of luck if she is happy, and she grants him her blessing. He smirks and decides to remain patient, because her bonuses mean he can wait for better opportunities. Inside the final boss chamber, Sangyan clashes with the beast. As his constellation watches, he taunts the monster, asking if it is truly a final boss. He deflects another strike and advances on the snarling creature. The Goblin Lord of Boundless Greed swings its axe. Sangyan blocks the heavy blow and skids backward as it roars. Suddenly, the Goblin Lord triggers its intimidation skill. Sangyan gasps, realizing it is actively draining his will to fight. He struggles to recover just as the beast bursts through the rubble. Because the skill cannot fully restrict his movement, he dismisses it as a trick for weaklings. Sangyan activates his recovery skill to dispel the monster's intimidation, deciding to test his luck. The Goblin Lord screams and triggers its intimidation again. As the monster roars, it is stunned, and Sangyan notes he has exactly 2 seconds. He darts forward to slash the boss, declaring he needs 2 more hits. The delay effect applies, but the monster coughs and swipes back, drawing blood. Sangyan lands another strike to trigger a second delay and praises the double stun. He smiles at the shocked creature before driving his blade in. The Goblin Lord of Boundless Greed drops dead, clearing the dungeon and leveling him up. Earning the D-tier title, Don't Touch Me, he worries he is pushing his young body too hard. The Goddess of Luck credits his evasion to luck, so he asks her to acknowledge his skills. The Goddess of Luck calls luck a crucial skill, and Sangyan absent-mindedly allocates more points to it. He realizes his luck stat has already passed 100, triggering an automatic boost. Looking at the defeated goblin boss, he notes that her bonus guarantees him a drop. He deduces his high luck also increases the artifact's tier, before absorbing the boss's shield. Meanwhile, at the Q Area Association, Jai Hao Kim flatly refuses a request. A desperate man begs her to reconsider, terrified because he has seen too many dead bodies this week. 2 hours earlier, Sangyan's drive is interrupted when his car dashboard lights up with warnings. He considers buying a new vehicle, but decides finding a safer home is more urgent. He knows he cannot watch his back in his sleep, and low-level neighborhoods attract crime. He resolves to move to a secure area and buy older artifacts for better absorption. Driving his car, Sangyan Shin realizes he needs money. He needs a huge amount, and fast. The Players Association is the only place to get it, because they oversee all quests. He confidently decides he can handle anything they manage. At the quest area, a receptionist begs him to pick a dungeon suited for his level. Sangyan argues that low-level areas are a waste of time. Trembling, she warns him that the last person who said that died instantly. He apologizes but insists he must double down. Suddenly, a purple-haired archer interrupts with a cheerful greeting. It is Miso Kim, a level 100 A+ rank player from the Eden Guild. Known as the Godly Bow of Massacre, she is the daughter of Yontrul Kim, chairman of Halo Biotech. Her father's company owns the guild, home to elite players like assassin Terry Shin and swordsman Jinho Jo. Smiling gently, Miso asks Sangyan why he wants a level 100 quest. He bluntly replies that he needs the money. Nearby veterans whisper about his rudeness, while Sangyan silently hears every insult. One of the men warns that the difficulty is quite high, but Miso Kim insists that higher difficulty brings greater rewards. Sangyan quickly reassures her that his rudeness was not personal. He remembers how she rejected his party request before his rewind. He promises there are no hard feelings, but Miso reminds him that soloing violates the quest rules. Sangyan suddenly realizes the soloing restriction lasts 4 more years. He awkwardly claims he misread the rules and tries to leave. Miso smirks and asks if he wants to join her, catching him completely off guard. The onlookers stare in shock. Jealous she invited a nobody. Suspicious, Sangyan asks for the catch. He prefers to gauge the situation first, and she admits there is no catch. However, she warns that he will pay the price if his skills fail his confidence. He promises to apologize if he falls short. Realizing she just wants to test him, Sangyan grins. As the daughter of Halo Biotech's chairman, Miso sets the next big fashion trends. A failure here could ruin her career, but she confidently asks if they should get going. They share a knowing look. Songyeon agrees that it should be fun. A little earlier that day, Miso dismissed her driver. Her Eden Guild members were busy, forcing her to find a random party member. Miso Kim receives her level 100 badge, but minimum party rules frustrate her, so she finds Sangyeon's confidence highly intriguing. A holographic window appears, and Miso is shocked to see a defense quest. She knows this requires killing all incoming monsters, so players usually bring a 4-person party rather than attempting it solo. Sangyeon smiles and asks if she is nervous. He points out her silence and wonders if they should find a tank instead. Miso grabs his wrist and immediately accepts the level 100 quest, telling him they need no one else. As lightning teleports them away, an anxious guild employee tries to reassure herself that Miso's presence guarantees their safety. Nearby players shout in disbelief that a level 17 is attempting a level 100 quest, but they trust Miso's judgment. They discuss how the association ranks players based on dungeon clears and battle sense. They note that Miso earned her A+ rank entirely through her extraordinary battle sense. Outside the quest, the other players are jealous because Sangyeon went in with Miso Kim. Back in the present, Miso stands ready, warning him she will step in if things get dangerous. Sangyeon just smirks. She huffs in annoyance, hoping this arrogant attitude will be a learning experience. 30 minutes ago, Miso was shocked when Sangyeon ordered her not to get involved. He offered her a 5% cut of the reward just to stand back. She admitted even a level 100 player would struggle alone. Sangyeon confidently told her to watch, despite his level 17 badge. She agreed, but added a condition. For every monster that slips past, she takes another % of his cut. Suddenly, a pack of wolves storms the road. Sangyeon shatters the ground as he draws his weapon. He grins, vowing to slaughter every last one of them himself. The wolves lunge, but Sangyeon moves so fast that Miso gasps in surprise. Sangyeon slices through the pack of wolves. He smiles, noting that they make a cute squeak when they die. Miso Kim watches from above, noting that his flawless strikes combine offense and defense perfectly. She realizes he eliminates all useless movements to kill multiple enemies at once. Still, she wonders how a level 17 player can possibly handle this many opponents. Then she notices something strange about the pack. Sangyeon triggers his demon bash to lock the monsters in place. Miso stares in shock, realizing he just stunned the entire group. Startled, she wobbles on the ledge and nearly falls. Catching her breath, she confirms he just used a stun effect. She counts 4 seconds, which is longer than Jinho's stun, and wonders who this man really is. Sangyeon slashes another wolf and tells them to entertain him more. Suddenly, a large beast charges down the road with 2 smaller wolves. He unleashes a burst of energy to fling the wolves aside, glad the leader finally showed itself. Sangyeon smiles as the black wolf charges forward. He dodges its attacks, feeling nostalgic about fighting these beasts. Suddenly, purple lightning erupts around him. He realizes the wolf possesses a stun skill too. Watching from a roof, Miso Kim is surprised to see the wolf use a stun skill. She draws her bow to intervene because a rookie cannot dispel status effects. However, Sangyeon shatters the debuff and goes on the offensive. Miso stares in disbelief, shocked that a level 17 player can clear debuffs. The wolf panics, as Sangyeon dodges and taunts it. It realizes its prey is moving freely. That single moment of hesitation decides the fight. Sangyeon prepares to strike and delivers a powerful blow to the creature. He notes that its surprise worked perfectly as a stun, sending it crashing down. Annoyed by the blood on his clothes, Sangyeon stabs the beast to finish it off. He smirks, deciding a little more mess will not hurt. High above, Goddess of Luck watches him with a bright smile. He clears the defense quest with ease. Checking his new stats, he notes the quick leveling. He glances up, knowing his constellation is now just an entertained spectator. Stretching his aching back, he turns to face the final boss. He asks the beast if it is ready. The full moon wolflord lunges forward with a deafening roar. The monster attacks wildly, but Sangyeon remains completely calm. He tells the wolf its moves used to be unpredictable. He slashes downward, explaining that 30 years in the future, every pattern has been analyzed. The creature deflects the strike. Sangyeon realizes the level 100 boss just resisted his demon bash skill. Watching him fight, Miso Kim admits she cannot believe what she is seeing. She notes he dispels stuns and swings his greatsword as if it weighs nothing. He easily dodges the wolflord's jaws and strikes back. He parries the monster's claws, completely unfazed by its snarls. Miso realizes he already knows the boss's unpredictable attack patterns, because he grinded for years. Seeing his cocky grin, she knows he is deliberately showing off his power to her. She smiles and wonders who he really is. As the fight drags on, Sangyeon grows frustrated because he wants to look cool. He wonders why the boss still has so much energy. With his health dropping fast, he fears he will faint before the monster does. Suddenly, the beast roars and lunges. Sanyan realizes the monster is baiting him with an easy strike. He knows it plans to land a killing blow with its other arm. The full moon wolf lord unleashes its deadly trademark slash. Sangyan smirks, deciding to test a new strategy. The beast lunges with a blue energy strike. Sangyan clashes his blade directly against the growling monster's descending claw. Miso Kim asks what is happening as a strike sends a body hitting the ground. Miso falls to her knees crying, blaming herself for Sangyan's defeat because she did nothing. As she apologizes, a sudden bright light interrupts her grief. The system demands he select one of 16 body parts to absorb damage. To use it strategically, he selects his front. The skill activates, instantly restoring his health to maximum. Standing unharmed, Sangyan taunts the monster and activates Demon Bosch. Sangyan confronts the full moon wolf lord, telling the beast its luck has finally run out. He notes its skill resistance broke when it lost an arm and suggests they proceed. Looking at the bleeding beast, he decides 3 stuns in a row is good enough. Miso Kim approaches. She complains that he should have mentioned his healing skill. She admits she panicked because she thought he died, and asks how he knows the boss's patterns perfectly. When Miso notes the intense pressure he gives off, Sangyan breaks into a nervous sweat. He worries she knows he traveled back in time. Instead, she just asks if he will finish the monster off. He apologizes to the snarling beast for forgetting it, and acquires the C-tier title Face Off. Sangyan smiles at his status window, thrilled because his new C-tier title boosts his abilities against isolated targets. Miso Kim asks if he soloed this before, admitting she only succeeded thanks to her artifacts. He reassures her that owning good items is a skill, but Miso notes her gear costs over 200 billion won while he uses a cheap greatsword. She asks if he plans to test his new title on her. Sangyan is confused until the system targets her. He quickly laughs it off and says he must call the mules to collect the monster loot. As he turns to leave, Miso tells him he can keep her 5% cut, leaving him shocked. She insists it is an investment because she expects them to see more of each other. Once alone, Sangyan checks the final boss loot and starts to tremble at the Blue Moon Stone, a platinum-tier artifact. He screams in pure excitement and clenches his fist. Sangyan laughs gleefully, realizing his platinum artifact is worth enough to buy an apartment. The goddess of luck demands credit for his fortune, but he insists he makes his own luck. When Ravaged Lips protests this lopsided fortune, the goddess calls a surprise vote and gets him unanimously banished. Sangyan wonders if she's really that popular. He inspects the Blue Moon Stone, smiling because it renders wolf-type monsters useless under a full moon. He initiates Mana Sync and steps through a portal into the lobby, facing a staring crowd. The onlookers whisper in disbelief about his level, while Miso Kim reassures the distressed lobby attendant. She tells the woman she was just doing her job, and Sangyan feels sorry for the stress he caused. Juhan Yun and other recruiters swarm him, aggressively pushing lucrative guild contracts. Miso pulls him away, telling the crowd they have private business to discuss. Miso Kim asks if he agrees, and Sangyan tentatively says yes while wondering why she rescued him. In her limousine, Sangyan happily checks his quest reward of 500 million won. He marvels at the speed, and Miso explains she hired A-tier mules to process it. The driver locks the car into secret mode. Sangyan realizes her kindness comes with a price. Tapping her leg, Miso refuses to beat around the bush. She directly invites him to join the Eden Guild. Sangyan notes her confidence, and she explains that Eden is a true paradise for players. He expected this offer. Before the rewind, his small, ordinary guild felt like a safe home. That was until a massacre left them all in pieces. He knows joining any guild now will only chain him down and slow his growth. He politely begins to decline her offer. Miso Kim asks if he intends to form a solo guild, leaving him silent. Miso praises his sharpness, reminding him she's a chairman's daughter who knows his capabilities. She explains she is the only one who knows his true intentions. Sangyan realizes she wants to build a connection to benefit from later. He silently notes just how shrewd Miso really is. Later, at Player Town Block C, a leasing agent asks for a deposit of 100 million won. Sangyan jokes about the price, and she tells him he is lucky the waitlist cleared. She wishes him a great day and leaves. Unpacking, Sangyan suspects the goddess of luck is behind his sudden fortune. He sets down his sword and looks out over the cityscape. He remembers how the time rewind initially left him in total confusion. For days, he had no clue how to move forward. But that changed when a long-forgotten sensation surged through his veins. The rush and adrenaline of youth make it impossible to just sit around. Reclaiming his lost youth, he vows to live a different life this time. Sangyan vows to never repeat his pathetic past. Meanwhile, the journalist Jo-min Park takes a call from Miso Kim. He begs her to hurry because his frantic co-workers are demanding to know who Sangyan is. Outside Player Town, Miso asks Sangyan to join an independent expedition to an unidentified gate. He instantly accepts. He wants the run because unidentified gates guarantee a high-tier artifact drop. Miso hands him her phone to exchange numbers. Sangyan spots an upcoming meeting on her screen, so she quickly apologizes. He realizes she has her own secrets. Sangyan Shen guards his own secrets. He knows that if anyone discovers he traveled back in time, the fallout will be uncontrollable. He wonders how his former companion is doing. Meanwhile, in the Eden Guild VIP room, Jinhojo tries to chat with Miso Kim. He notices she is just staring at her phone. She announces she is doing a gate raid with Sangyan. Junyo teases that she has completely fallen for him. Miso denies it. Instead, she warns Jinho to watch his back. She argues that Sangyan's swordsmanship might actually surpass his. Jinho laughs, asserting the rookie is not on his level yet. Later, at the training center, Miso calls Sangyan. She shares a new scouting report for an upcoming gate. Sangyan sees the mini-boss is a wolf-type monster. He smiles. After hanging up, a man complains about waiting. Sangyan apologizes to his former captain, Day. Day smiles and forgives him, since Sangyan is a celebrity now. Day tells Sangyan to drop the title and just call him by his first name. Sangyan insists he is not a celebrity yet, so Day asks if he has seen the news. He holds up his phone to show the front page of the Player Times. An article praises Sangyan as a generational talent. Sangyan stares in shock, and Day warns him to mute his phone before it explodes. Sangyan asks if reporters can publish articles without consent. Day jokes about text from exes, but Sangyan says it is only friends so far. Deciding to worry about the news later, Sangyan takes the badge from Day. Sangyan excitedly praises him. Day reminds him they cost money, asking why he wants worn-out artifacts. Sangyan blames superstition. He secretly wonders how to explain that used artifacts have higher absorption rates. A woman arrives and asks to start the appraisal. Sangyan asks who she is, and Day explains she is the appraiser mediating their deal. He hired her to prevent any scams. She channels her energy into the items. Once the system confirms the appraisal, she sighs in relief. Day notes the price is fair. Before making the trade, Day draws his sword. He asks Sangyan to evaluate his swordsmanship. Sangyan claims he is not good enough to coach anyone, but Day tells him to drop the act. Day admits Sangyan's skills are far superior, but he refuses to let pride prevent him from improving. Sangyan complains about wasting time, making Day gulp in stress, but Nazagan decides it is unsportsmanlike to ignore him, so he tells a grinning Day to show his moves. Sangyan warns Jihee Kim to step back, just as Day unleashes his power. Day launches a flurry of powerful sword strikes, leaving Jihee in awe. Sangyan realizes Day hasn't skipped a single day of training since their last raid, but suddenly interrupts the lunge. He stops the practice and asks Day if something happened to his left arm. Shocked, Day asks how he knew, and Sangyan explains that his left shoulder opens up too early. Groaning, Day admits he has lingering fears about a past injury on his left side. He confesses it is a bad habit he cannot break, but Sangyan surprises him, assuring him it is an easy fix. He advises Day to turn the weak point into a strength, stepping in to modify his grip and breathing. As Sangyan physically adjusts his posture, Dae cries out that it hurts. Watching from the sidelines, Jihee blushes furiously as she listens to Day groaning about the tough position. Earlier that day, an appraiser completely misinterprets Sangyan and Day's sweaty sword training. Later, Sangyan drives home. He remembers Day thanking him for the lesson. He reflects on his expensive artifact meal. He wonders if he should ask Jihee for raid updates. Suddenly, he slams on the brakes. He apologizes to the men because they were in his blind spot. He says he has been waiting all day. Another man demands that Sangyan get out, so Sangyan politely asks for clarification. The man sighs at the rookie response. He threatens to burn the car to the ground if Sangyan refuses to step out. Sangyan immediately recognizes the thugs. They are Yeon Chul Choi and Song Ko Jul from the Utopia Guild. He remembers them as infamous MyTubers who constantly bully weaker players for views. In his past life, they eventually earned life sentences because of their escalating crimes. Song-hoo complains that the kid is ignoring them. Sangyan sighs. Level 100 Yan Chil Choi and Seong-go Jo decide to make him pay for ignoring them. Inside his car, Sangyan Shin sighs heavily, wondering why he always has to deal with these filthy bastards. Song-ko summons his fire magic and asks what to do next. Yang Chil tells him to relax and claims residents are complaining about a loser driving a dirty tractor. He kicks Sangyan's car door. Sangyan looks up in shock. Yang Chil threatens to crush the car unless he leaves immediately. Nearby onlookers mutter that the Utopia Guild members are harassing people again. Suddenly, Seong-ko recognizes Sangyan. He realizes this is the guy who partied with Jihee Kim at Q area. Seong-ko recalls that he was in Jihee Kim's party. Young Kale scoffs that he looks like a nobody, but Seonko argues Jae-hae Kim would never endanger a new recruit. Seeing an opportunity, Young Shul orders Seonko to start the livestream to teach the carried noob a lesson. Addressing his viewers, Yang Chul challenges Sangyeon to a one-on-one fight. If Sangyeon wins, Yang Chul promises to leave him alone forever. Sangyeon agrees instantly, but demands they add 500 million won and an arm to the stakes. Young Ho-shul flies into a rage, cursing at Sangyeon and asking if he is too scared. Sangko shows Yang Chul the live chat, where viewers are begging him to take the bet. Young Cole decides to use this fight to de-stress, since the video will get demonetized anyway. Sangyeon simply calls him a coward. Bystanders in the plaza recognize Sangyeon and whisper that the Utopia streamers are bullying newcomers again. The system engages training mode. Young Chul conjures a fireball and demands the 500 million and an arm. He warns Sangyeon not to back out because he is not messing around. Suddenly, Sangko screams in shock, as Sangyeon instantly crosses the distance and crushes Yang Chul. Sangyeon tells him he isn't messing around either. Watching the broadcast from home, Miso Kim stares in absolute shock as she recognizes Sangyeon. Miso recognizes Yang Chul Choi on the screen, a reckless B-ranked player whose uncle is the Utopia Guildmaster. She wonders why Sangyeon is with him. Terry Shin approaches and asks Miso why she looks so worried. Terry wonders why Sangyeon is on such a distasteful broadcast, but grins because his technique looks fine. On the broadcast, an enraged Yongchul summons a fiery orb and vows to kill Sangyeon. As Yongko hurls the blast, Sangyeon swiftly swings his blade. Yongko stares in shock as the swordsman easily slices straight through the flames. The explosion blasts Yongchul backward, leaving his sidekick Sangkojo and their stream viewers completely baffled. Sangyeon smiles. After his rewind, his body is finally moving exactly the way he wants. 3 hours earlier, Sangyeon thanks a woman for saving them a ton of time with the trade. Blushing, she waves her hands and assures him that she appreciates his help too. Day suggests celebrating their big haul with booze and a huge feast. However, Sangyeon Shin apologizes and backs out, explaining that he already has plans. Day turns to the woman instead, but she immediately remembers her own plans and dashes away. Elsewhere, Sangyeon sits on a park bench to absorb stats from an artifact, shocked to hit a 90% absorption rate. The goddess of luck claims all the credit, and Sangyeon happily praises the used items. He then asks if she knows a constellation named Late Blooming Scholar. Sangyeon softly apologizes, explaining that the scholar is simply special to him. Mollified, the goddess generously offers to look for the constellation, and he cheers in gratitude. With that settled, Sangyeon smiles and prepares to devour the rest of his new equipment. Sangyeon drools over his former captain's macho artifacts, eager to devour them for power. He marvels at how super macho the dishes are. Stepping into the arena, Sangyeon's face-off skill isolates Yang Chul, leaving Sangko trembling on the sidelines. Screaming in hatred, Yang Chul launches a desperate, fiery aerial strike. Miso tells Sangyeon to watch out, but Terry tells her to calm down. She knows Sangyeon will easily dodge the attack. Sangyeon rushes forward, reminding Yang Chul of the terms of their deal. Falling back, Yang Chul manifests his rings. He grins and threatens to take Sangyeon's arm because he thinks the rookie fell for his trap. Sangyeon vanishes in a blue flash, shocking Yang Chul. Smirking, Sangyeon steps behind him and declares victory. An ominous grinning entity looms in the darkness as Sangyeon unleashes his true power. He traps the bully inside a magic circle. A system notification triggers freeze, but Sangyeon instantly breaks free. Watching the broadcast, Harry Shin is surprised he can use non-fire magic. Miso Kim smirks, knowing this would work because Sangyeon can dispel debuffs. She admits this is exactly why she wanted him. Elsewhere, Jui watches the crystal shatter, leaving Yongchul Choi in shock. Yo-Control knows escape is impossible without a dispel skill, but Sangyeon charges forward. Sangyeon swings his sword and slams a powerful strike into him. Sangko-jo watches in disbelief, as Yongkul is crushed, surviving only because the training mode prevents fatal damage. The chat goes wild. Sangko realizes Sangyeon seems like a completely different person. Sangyeon powers up, leaving the audience wondering what he just did. Terry explains to Miso that it is an awakening skill, guessing it is the psychedelic type. Terry Shin warns that taking damage in a psychedelic state causes severe fatigue. Miso Kim realizes he never used that skill with her, assuming it cost a fortune. She checks his purchase records to find out how he got it. The artifact logs reveal he awakened the hidden skill on a fraction of a percent chance. She declares he must be chosen by the goddess of luck herself. Meanwhile, Sangyeon corners Yang Chul Choi and regrets that he cannot slice off his arm. He asks if Yang Chul wants to turn off training mode, but Yang Chul curses him. Young Cole decides to get serious and blasts him back to create some distance. He bitterly regrets starting this fight because Sungyeon is far stronger than Sanggojo claimed. Sangyeon immediately grabs him. He demands that Young Cole pay up and drives a punch into him. As Young Chol begs him to wait, Sangyeon assures him he will not die in training mode. Young Kil begs him to stop and frantically promises to transfer the 500 million. Sangyeon pins him down, declaring that his revenge is now purely personal. He asks if Young Chol wants to know why. 3 days ago, a mechanic handed Sangyeon a tablet. He explained that Sangyeon's old car finally had to be scrapped. Sangyeon wept openly. Back in the present, he throws a punch to avenge his ruined car. Young Chol bursts into tears and screams out an apology. The sheer terror actually makes him soil himself. The display instantly repulses the online viewers. It just trembles on the ground. Nearby, Sang-hoo-jo gags at the terrible smell. He realizes they are completely doomed for provoking the wrong target, just as a new voice calls his name. Baekhyun-mun arrives, warning Sanggo that he will be held accountable, forcing a nervous apology. Watching from afar, Baekhyun decides to investigate this rookie, because overpowering a veteran like Young Chul is no small feat. He steps forward and politely calls out Sungyeon's name. He steps over the defeated bodies, asking Sungyeon Shin if he has time to discuss compensation. Sungyeon asks for his name and guild first. The man quickly realizes Sungyeon's composure comes from years of hardened combat experience. Bowing deeply, Baekhyun-mun introduces himself as a Utopia Guild officer and promises to cover all damages. He silently decides the financial loss is worth it to recruit such a skilled player. Sangyeon immediately demands 2 billion won as the perfect price for his psychological distress. Baekhyun stammers at the sum, while the beaten bully cries for a discount. Later, reporters camp outside Sangyeon's door to demand details of his settlement. When they ask if he is dating Miso Kim, Sangyeon scoffs. He dismisses the rumors because he simply has far too much work on his plate. Back inside, he lays out his gear. Today is the day of his scheduled gate raid with Miso. Thanks to Day's Appraiser, he has leveled up his Demon Bash and Sword Mastery. He calculates that his new titles will extend his stun duration to over 5 seconds. He also secures a mobility charge. Satisfied this arsenal is sufficient for the raid, he remembers gambling against the Wolf Lord due to limited attacks and vows to fight smarter. Reflecting on his fight with the Wolf Lord, Sangyeon realizes his lack of a mobility skill nearly got him killed. He tells himself he must pull himself together, because he cannot lose everything like he did in his past life. He vows to change the future at all costs and become as powerful as the armored hero from his memories. Suddenly his phone rings, and Jungmin Park cheerfully reminds him that today is the day of their interview. Sangye panics because he completely forgot. Checking his phone, he sees it is already 1:45 p.m. Outside his door, reporters wait to ambush him, demanding to know about his budding romance with Miso Kim. To escape the mob, Sangyeon activates his psychedelic skill and bursts out the door. At the cafe, Park calls Mr. Shin over and says he already ordered coffee. Crackling with residual energy and panting heavily, Sangyeon sits down. Park asks if he just fought a dungeon. Jungmin Park explains he wanted to cover the Q area incident. However, a new major event is currently a hot topic among players. The journalist insists people are realizing that level does not equal true skill. He calls Sangyeon a generational talent. Jungmin clarifies he means overseas guilds, not just Eden. He reveals 5 foreign organizations submitted identity inquiries to the association today. He warns him to stay alert because such intense interest is unprecedented. Later, Sangyeon considers staying solo. He admits the offers are tempting, bitterly remembering being treated like garbage before. Miso Kim calls out, and he greets his raid partner. He mentions they have time, but pauses in confusion. He spots another woman beside her. Miso explains the girl insisted on meeting him. She introduces Terry Shin, who suggests going to a cafe. Terry shakes his hand and Sangyeon awkwardly gives his name. He silently notes that Miso did not need to introduce her. Looking at the famous shadow assassin Terry Shin, Sangyeon feels bad for his past self. She asks him for a favor, and he cautiously agrees to help if he can. Smiling, Terry immediately challenges him to a fight. Miso protests, but Terry insists she has to see what he is made of. Miso nervously apologizes for her friend's blunt joke. To her shock, Sangyeon draws his weapon and asks if they should duel right here. T-Rai praises Miso's eye for talent and proposes a quick 5-move match. As Tyri channels energy into her blades, Sangyeon decides to use this chance to test his growth. He realizes she becomes a completely different person the moment she readies her weapons. He activates his psychedelic skill to go all out, leaving Miso completely lost by their sudden vibe. Terry steps forward and announces her first move. Miso Kim watches in surprise as Terry Shin powers up. Sangyeon takes a hit, realizing his current physical stats are too low to react visually. As Terry attacks with her dual blades, Sangyan decides he must predict her moves. Terry smirks and clashes against his blade. She compliments his footwork, but warns him she has 4 moves left. Watching her speed increase, Sangyan acknowledges that her movements are truly elite. To keep up, he closes his eyes. He decides to block out his vision and feel her attacks just like he did in the past. Mizoke mutters in disbelief. She calls him completely reckless because he is fighting the shadow assassin. Sangyan waits blindly for the right moment, then swings his weapon to parry her strike. Terry admits she never expected him to block her follow-up attack. She grins, explaining that such focus requires experience rather than talent. She says he fights exactly like a veteran player, and Sangyan silently notes her perceptiveness. He tells her he is flattered as they clash again. As Terry notes she has 3 moves left, Sangyan asks her for a favor. He suggests they go all in on one single move. He tells her he refuses to let this opportunity slip away. He has to draw out her full power to reach the next level. Terry agrees, but warns she cannot use her full strength outside of training mode. She promises to show her full speed rush without using skills, which he eagerly accepts. Terry darts forward faster than Sangyan consents, treating it like a real battle. He decides to aim where she is going to be. Just as he strikes, Terry suddenly activates her Shadow Phantom skill. Caught off guard, Sangyan takes a hit to the face. Terry quickly asks if he is okay, and Miso cries out his name. Sangyan groans that he is fine, reminding Terry she promised not to use skills. Sangyan clutches his head, the psychedelic skill penalty worsening his pain. Terry reaches out and apologizes to Sangyan, explaining she used her skills out of reflex. Terry asks if he is truly okay, and Sangyan grabs her hand. Sangyan assures Terry he is fine, grateful she put everything into the attack. Sangyan tells Terry he hopes they can chat more next time, and she happily agrees. Miso interrupts, reminding them it is time for their gate raid. She scolds Terry for being dangerous, ordering her to report the incident to the guild. Terry apologizes and waves goodbye, telling Miso to text her later. As they leave, Sangyan realizes this is his first defeat since the rewind. He knows he would have lost instantly to Terry, viewing her as another mountain to climb. Terry smiles back, and Sangyan wonders if she thinks he still has a long way to go. A pink portal opens on the street. Miso claps her hands, introducing Sangyan to their 2 new teammates. Sangyan greets them, and the armored man excitedly praises Sangyan's recent exploits. He introduces himself as Taeshok Park, a level 120 rank mage who uses Ignite. Taesok notes he is a fire type, just like young Chul Choi, whom Sangyan recently defeated. Taesok conjures a swirling blue flame and grins, explaining that he specialized exclusively in fire magic. Sangyan acknowledges he has a long way to go, but praises Taesok for specializing correctly. Sangyan realizes this is exactly why he beat Yongchul so easily, because his enemy spread his elements too thin. Miso then introduces Juhi Kang, a nervous mage who uses spatial link skills. Wanting to match Taesok, Juhi activates her power, blasting the room with a sudden burst of wind. Miso scolds her for the outburst. Sangyan wonders why a spatial skill creates wind. The space warps around them, and Juhi reveals her ability, hoping they make a good team. Sangyan tells her she does not have to bow. He realizes Miso built a nearly flawless party to cover both ranged and melee combat. Watching them discuss strategy for the first waves, he sees they have perfect harmony. He remembers how his past party mocked him as a wuss when he suggested using his greatsword. He falls silent, remembering his vow to live a different life. Miso notices his silence and gently asks if Terry Shin's earlier attack is still bothering him. Sangyan waves off the concern, claiming he was just daydreaming. He asks if they are ready. They enter the unidentified gate, a frozen abyss blanketed in heavy snow. Miso thanks Taesok for his fire buff, because without it, they would freeze to death instantly. Miso notices his new weapon. She asks why he hid it, and he explains that mobility is crucial for this raid. She marvels at his mastery of multiple weapons, so he awkwardly claims he practiced hard. Inwardly, Sangyan sighs, feeling that lying is the only downside to getting a second chance. Suddenly, a blue monster roars from the trees, and Sangyan initiates Plan C. Juhi launches a magic orb. The creature thrashes in the snow, and the team scatters to attack. Miso tells Sangyan to lead the charge, and he grins as he asks for cover. They dive straight toward the roaring beast. Miso calls out to Taesok to initiate their plan, and he confirms he is ready. He fires a blast of magic to cover her. Miso drops from above and releases her arrow. Sangyan dives in, right behind her. The 3 allies strike the monster together in midair. The beast takes the hit and steps forward. Sangyan immediately follows up with a heavy sword strike. The creature staggers from the combined attack. Sangyan shouts for Juhi to strike next. She confirms the order and releases her magic. The monster roars and stumbles back into the snow. Sangyan lands nearby. The creature grins because it thinks it has survived the onslaught. Sangyan asks if it really thought it had him. He charges forward to finish the fight. He tells Juhi to prepare the next attack, and she agrees. He activates Demon Bash and smirks at the beast. With one clean slash, he severs the monster's head. Juhi and Taeshok stare in complete silence because they cannot believe how easily he won. Sangyan steps forward, casually noting the battle was a bit tough. Taeso Park and Juhi Kang are stunned because their plan did not expect the monster to die in one strike. Juhi Kang quickly apologizes, clarifying she is not complaining, just incredibly surprised. Miso Kim smiles, reminding them she had the exact same reaction when she first saw him fight. When Miso asks if he is holding back, Sangyeon laughs and hopes they lower their expectations. He realizes their teamwork is surprisingly solid, likely because they are all veteran players. Sangyeon says he has a good feeling about this and readies his sword as a horde advances. After the beasts are slaughtered, Taesok excitedly declares Sangyeon the best swordsman he has ever teamed up with. Miso explains that Taesok is just thrilled to finally unleash his full firepower. Sangyeon realizes mages usually rely on support skills if they lack a strong swordsman to protect them. Taesok and Juhui eagerly beg for another raid, leaving Sangyeon completely overwhelmed. Miso admits he managed to surprise her once again. Suddenly a dark monster roars, and Taesok and Miso immediately unleash their magic and arrows. Juhi watches as two creatures crash into the fight. Aiming her bow, Miso warns the group that an armored demon ogre is incoming. Miso realizes the timing is terrible. Taesok suggests they fall back to gather firepower. Instead, Sangyeon asks Juhi to open a portal directly to the beast. Miso warns him that the demon ogre is heavily armored. She tells Juhi to follow his orders, deciding that trusting him cannot hurt. Juhi opens the gateway, and Sangyeon launches himself through it. He uses Focus Charge to convert his mobility skill into an attack. The impact blasts the ogre backward, stunning Miso. An energy vortex consumes the horned beast. A dark structure falls from the sky and crushes the monster. The team watches in shock, while Sangyeon simply grins. Sangyeon explains he only pushed the skill so hard because he trusts the team. Soon after, Juhi shushes everyone as they peek over a wall. Below them sleeps the mini-boss, the Cerberus of frozen Hades. They whisper about strategy, since they lack information on the beast. Sangyeon just smiles, deciding this monster is the perfect guinea pig. Sangyeon draws his second sword. Juhu asks what he is doing. He just grins. Taeso recognizes that reckless expression and wonders if they should trust him. Sangyeon tells them to sit tight and watch. He darts away without explaining, because there isn't enough time to tell them everything. He lunges straight at the three-headed Cerberus and casually says hello. Taesok panics and yells to cover him. Miso stops them, noticing the beast is completely still. Juhui asks if it is on guard. The monster shifts, but Miso realizes it is not trying to attack. It is shaking. The Cerberus cowers before Sangyeon in total submission. He decides it is time to finish the fight. Sangyeon tells himself it feels strange to kill a monster that surrendered, but he has to do it for the raid. After finishing off the boss, he is surprised to receive the Have title, which cuts his skill's cooldown in half. He happily decides to pair the new title with his recovery skill. Suddenly, Miso calls out his name, and Sangyeon realizes he forgot to discuss how to split the loot. He blames his solo habits for the mistake and wonders if he plans to claim the loot. Instead, Miso tells him to keep everything because he defeated the boss alone, making Sangyeon laugh in relief. He asks if the others are okay with that, and Taesok and Juhui quickly agree since they did nothing. Sangyeon tells himself to stop obsessing over loot before Miso announces they will leave him alone to do his thing. When he asks what she means, Miso smirks and admits she already knows what he does with artifacts. She explains that after their previous battles she got curious about why he stayed behind and accidentally saw his secret. Sangyeon panics that his lifeline has been exposed until Miso laughs that he just likes doing weird rituals with items. She reassures him she has seen players like that before and tells him to take his time. Miso decides they must respect Sangyeon's behavior. He silently accepts the misunderstanding because it keeps his unique skill hidden. To prepare for the next phase, Sangyeon readies his equipment and Juhui unleashes her final spell. He and Miso thank Juhui for making their progress possible. She admits she is skeptical about his plan to use dead ogres as bait. Sangyeon assures them the boss loves meat. When Taesok asks how he knows that, Sangyeon ignores him and orders the pile cooked to lure the monster. The party waits in the snow until Sangyeon announces the boss is arriving. The grisly big bear of the frozen abyss appears, and the group draws their weapons. The boss stares them down, so the party braces to fight. Miso readies her bow, admitting the raid has been easy so far thanks to Sangyeon's strategies. The beast roars, and Sangyeon steps forward to face it. covered in blood. Sangyan questions if this is getting too dangerous. Several minutes earlier, he explains his strategy to the team. Miso is shocked that he wants to be the bait alone, but he insists it is their only option. He explains that when giant beasts lose enough health, they enter a state of glutton and eat everything in sight. Because of this, they gather dead ogres laced with anesthetic junipers to poison the monster's meal. He tells them their only challenge is dealing enough damage to trigger the gluttony, and promises to draw its fire. Back in the present, Sangyan crashes through a barrier and instantly regrets his confidence. He realizes the beast is incredibly strong, and if he keeps trying to block, he will die. Because he refuses to waste his second chance at life, he vows to evade every single attack. However, the beast reacts with sudden speed. It knocks Sangyan down, and he realizes too late that he never should have jumped. The grizzly big bear roars as arrows pierce its hide, retaliating with a misty breath attack. From a mountain peak, Miso yells for Sangyan to strike. He grins, thanking her for the save. He swings his heavy sword, driving it into the beast and shattering the ground. The grizzly big bear is frozen for 1 second. Sangyan is thrilled that combining his freezing skill with focus charge bypassed the monster's resistance. Declaring that it is showtime, he rushes the beast. He activates Demon Bash level 2, making the monster stumble. He calls out to Taesok, who is already prepared. Taesok promises to pummel the beast with his hottest flames. He screams for Sangyan to get out of the way. Taesok unleashes his blazing blue flamingo skill, engulfing the bear in fire. Sangyan watches the unbelievable firepower. He calculates that the blast dropped the beast's health to the target threshold. Sangyan smiles, because this is exactly what he planned. Miso calls out to him, but Sangyan is too busy wondering why the bear's gluttony status makes it so intimidating. He has to survive until Juhi finishes her skill. Taesok stares in shock at the transformed monster. He sees Juhui is still preparing her magic. She mumbles her incantation. Miso asks if she will make it on time. Taesok replies that their only hope is for Sangyan to hold his own. The beast shatters the ground. Sangyan runs for his life. Because he cannot avoid the next strike, he decides to face it head-on and activates Psychedelic. Juhi announces the warp is ready. The monster lunges. A portal instantly pulls him to safety. Miso and Taesok immediately rush over to check on Juhui as she collapses. Taesok admits he used too much mana, relieved they barely survived. The grizzly big bear is paralyzed by the junipers, so Sangyan realizes he narrowly avoided being eaten. The team celebrates the victory, hugging Juhui to thank her. Sangyan delivers the final strike, and the grizzly big bear finally bleeds out and collapses. As the frozen abyss clears, the team apologizes to Sangyan for not helping more. Sangyan reassures them he wanted to fight alone, leveling up from the reward. Juhi apologizes for missing the final blow, but Sangyan thanks her for trusting his sudden strategy. He needed this solo fight to test his true limits. He is sincerely grateful they agreed, though he knows he would have forced the plan regardless. Sangyan remembers his raids before the rewind, where even elite teams suffered sudden casualties. He recalls the survivors crying over their dead friends. Looking at his bloodied hands, he tells himself he only survived his past life by pure luck. Sangyan tells himself that while danger is constant, he vows to use this second chance to prevent any needless casualties. He feels dizzy, but Captain Yuan announces it is time to check out the loot as pink energy appears. Sangyan grins at the first clear bonus and reaches into the light, but a hand holds his. Surprised, he smirks excitedly as the goddess of luck reveals a list of unique weapons. Thrilled by the unique artifact, he watches the chibi goddess smirk as her power crackles. Remembering their contract guarantees a hidden effect, he happily agrees when she demands to be called Your Highness. Checking that the others are distracted, he reaches out to make his choice. He selects the Great Sword of Valor, amazed by its incredible stats and hidden knockback burst effect. Sangyan eagerly swings his new great sword, but a sudden energy blast throws him off balance. He crashes to the ground, completely shocked by how heavy the weapon actually is. Checking his system window, he realizes his featherweight skill now carries a penalty, leaving him feeling scammed. Yuhi asks if something is wrong, but Sangyan quickly forces a smile and changes the subject. His teammates happily show off their new artifacts and insist they owe their success to him. Miso explains that the team is giving Sangyan all the boss loot. He tries to refuse, but she insists that his overwhelming performance earned it. Sangyan covers his face, and his teammates immediately beg him not to cry. They do not know he is actually struggling to hide his maniacal laughter over a 1.5 billion won payout. Outside the gate, Miso suggests a celebratory dinner, but Sangyan politely declines. He tells them he wants to check his gains, and they all exchange the goodbyes. Before he leaves, Miso suddenly stops him and asks if she can call him Appa. Inwardly sweating over being 55, he agrees, and she waves goodbye with a smirk. She turns to walk away, leaving Sangyan standing alone in the dark street. Watching her leave, he warmly smiles at hearing the word Appa again. He cheerfully waves back, telling her to get home safely. Later, in a quiet alley, he realizes he has not heard that word in forever. He absorbs his new greatsword and finishes some spicy gimbap, satisfied with the meal. He dumps his points into luck because that unlocks a 600% critical hit multiplier. Thrilled by his rapid growth, he vows to catch up to Gyangsu Du and pay back Terry Shin. Suddenly, an eerie sensation washes over him as 3 new constellations appear, astonished by his fighting spirit. The Huntress of Darkness questions his existence, but the Goddess of Luck cheerfully notes his skyrocketing stock price. Sanghyun is surprised to receive new contract options so soon. He realizes the Goddess of Luck's immense popularity drew them here. He checks the candidates. Everyone knows the Lion King and Peerless Beard. The Lion King furiously berates him for his disrespectful stare. Peerless Beard threatens to behead him, forcing Sanghyun to awkwardly apologize. He decides bonding with them would be a nightmare. The third option is the Huntress of Darkness, who targets system exploiters. He remembers how she tormented dual contract players in his past life. He hates all 3 choices. The Goddess of Luck is enough for now. He decides to aim for the mythical divine constellation instead. He politely declines the candidates. Flabbergasted, the Lion King stomps away in a rage. Peerless Beard departs quietly, planning to return. Suddenly, the Huntress turns to face him. She warns him that she will uncover his secret one day. As the energy vanishes, Sanghyun sighs in exhaustion. Sanghyun decides to be extra wary of the Huntress of Darkness. Checking his phone, he realizes he will not be late if he leaves immediately. He knows a rift full of kobolds is about to open, and because a specific timing rule applies to them, he refuses to miss out. Despite already fighting 3 battles today, he hefts his greatsword and vows to keep pushing until the divine constellation comes to him. Meanwhile, at the Rift Management Bureau, a staff member gasps as her monitors flash a dimensional rift warning at Bupyeong Station. She orders officers to the scene and shouts that she will contact nearby players. However, a bystander on the line shocks her by reporting that a reckless lone player is already fighting the horde. As Sanghyun slaughters the creatures, the bystander mutters that he does not need help. Rifts are unpredictable disasters, where monsters pour directly into the real world, causing chaos unlike contained dungeons. A wolf-like creature bursts from the shattered dimensional barrier with a guttural growl. But as Sanghyun steps up, he smiles, using his second chance to rewrite his regrets and make these disasters completely predictable. 10 minutes earlier, he walks down the subway stairs straight to the rift's location. Sanghyun waits by the subway exit, knowing exactly where the rift will spawn. As the energy erupts, he confirms the location. He remembers this specific outbreak because it caused a gruesome tragedy in his past life. He gives thanks for the rewind. He vows the slaughter will not happen this time. He grew up in an orphanage. He never knew his parents, but he still knows the agonizing pain of losing loved ones to the monsters. He steps forward with his greatsword. He will protect the innocent and live a different life. The kobold warriors rush out of the portal and charge straight at him. Sanghyun immediately casts the Hour of the Canines to hit the pack with an intimidation debuff. He grins when the skill takes effect. Without a visible moon, they are not completely submissive. He declares that is fine by him. The first creature lunges. Sanghyun decides to test his new focus charge skill as the wolves lunge. He combines it with his hidden skill, Knockback Burst, to unleash a counterattack. The powerful strike blasts multiple beasts through the air, completely shattering their formation. He smiles, noting the combination greatly boosted his damage and area of effect. He notes that his luck stat has also widened his critical hit range, but since the beasts are still standing, he knows his critical damage roll was low. Backed by the grinning shadow of his constellation, he readies another strike to aim for a maximum crit. Meanwhile, a vehicle screeches to a halt, and Association player Hyun Lee jumps out to demand who placed the call. A frightened woman points toward the monsters, so Hyun tells her to get to safety first. Suddenly, a colleague calls his name, making Hyun turn in confusion. Jong Lee, an Association player, suggests they prioritize the threat. Suddenly, a dark kobold attacker lunges into the street, forcing Sanghyun to draw his sword. Jong wants to kill it first, but Sanghyun orders the men to stay back. Jung calls it ridiculous, as the isolated kobold gains a stat boost. Unfazed, Sanghyun activates his psychedelic skill because he wants to test a new combination. He grins, unable to resist testing a knockback burst stacked with all his buffs on the creature. He unleashes a punch that launches the creature backward. The beast roars as it flies through the air. The force sends it crashing into the damaging edge of the rift. Stunned by the display, Jung asks if he is Mr. Sanghyun Shin. Sanghyun confirms his identity and apologizes for his earlier attitude. Jung expresses deep gratitude, calling it a miracle that they suffered no casualties. Sanghyun cheerfully replies that he is just glad he was passing by. He then asks if they are planning to enter the rift and requests to tag along. The two players promise they will not get in his way. They simply want to watch him hunt. Sangyan grins and tells them to do as they wish. He feels a sense of pride at the youngster's enthusiasm. Halfway into the Bupyeong Station rift, Sangyan effortlessly slices through the monsters. The two men struggle to keep up. They decide they must watch and learn from his incredible battle sense. One of them marvels at Sangyan's endless stamina. The battle they barely survived moments ago was incredibly tough. Moments earlier, the men were trapped when numerous archers surrounded them in a grand hall. Anticipating the ambush, their leader yanked a monster's corpse forward. He ordered his team to take cover behind it. A barrage of energy beams slammed into the meat shield. Struggling to defend his team, the leader wondered if bringing them was a mistake. He quickly scolded himself to push through. A wolf aims its bow, but Sangyan stabs a hooded creature from behind, taunting them about their distracted archery. He strikes down the remaining monsters to clear the path. Stepping into the stone corridor, he announces he is ready for the second floor. A heavy strike forces him to block and skid backward. Relieved, he dies before getting crushed. He identifies the beast as a kobold champion, shocked that such a high-caliber guard is stationed here. The monster charges again. Sangyan debates using knockback burst to deflect the impact. Deciding that skill is too uncertain, he braces to take the hit and swings his sword directly into the beast. The creature shatters instantly, collapsing in front of two stunned wolves. Sangyan realizes his stats are too low for a one-hit kill, meaning his greatsword did the work. Amused, he turns toward the wolves. The remaining monsters are slaughtered, leaving the grand hall littered with bodies. Sangyan claims a pair of platinum-tier boots, delighted by the rare drop. He equips them, knowing the speed boost will make the rest of the raid much easier. Glancing back at the injured players, he credits them for holding their ground. Running deeper into the rift, Sangyan realizes his loot is already worth over 1.5 billion won. His health is completely restored from slaughtering kobolds, thanks to his clever hunter title. Suddenly, a heavy pressure washes over him as he reaches the king's treasure chamber. He freezes in shock at the horde, yelling that he could retire on this gold alone. As a shadow looms above, Sangyan laughs, declaring that true progress is just being rich. The kobold king fires a bolt, scattering the treasure. Sangyan easily deflects the ambush and charges the beast. He complains that these predictable sneak attacks are getting old, then launches a swift counterattack. The boss dodges at point-blank range, leading Sangyan to suspect it is trying to bait him. The kobold king grins and fires its crossbow. The beast roars in triumph. Sangyan reacts and clashes against his opponent. He narrowly avoids the blast, realizing focus charge just saved him from being blown to smithereens. Sangyan lunges back in, stomping the ground forcefully. He smirks, admitting to himself that this creature is going to be trouble. Suddenly, the two association players rush through a portal, shouting their apologies for being late. They sprint down the corridor as a roar echoes. The Kobold King immediately unleashes its King's Glare, striking them with an intimidation debuff. One of the men screams in distress because the boss's power leaves him completely paralyzed. Taking advantage of the distraction, Sangyan charges in, vowing the beast will regret turning its back on him. He activates recovery to dispel the intimidation debuff, shocking the creature as he launches a rapid assault. The Kobold King slashes Sangyan, landing a heavy blow. Sangyan realizes that although his recovery created an opening, the boss's stats are too high to stun. He remembers this intimidation debuff once incapacitated level 100 players, making it stronger than the Goblin Lord's. He grins, vowing to acquire the skill this time, and strikes back. The Kobold King roars and unleashes rampant barrage, engulfing Sangyan in red explosions. Sangyan deflects the beams, impressed that the boss means business. As the monster summons floating arrows, Sangyan realizes it is keeping its distance to counter his focus charge. He wishes for a ranged attack until he spots the gold coins and says, "That's it." Meanwhile, the other players recover from the startling debuff and wonder how Sangyan is fighting completely unharmed. Watching the explosions, one of the men gets a bad feeling as he notices the arrows converging on the gold coins. One of the onlookers suddenly screams that they have walked into a trap. As the arrows stop, the Goblin Lord grins amidst the clattering gold coins. Sangyan ignores the chaos and dashes straight through the exploding torrent of gold. The beast calls him a foolish dog, but its smugness shatters when Sangyan grins back, warning that he has his own tricks. Sangyan activates a sacrifice skill to fully heal himself. Then, he triggers his psychedelic ability and declares it is his turn. He launches forward with a knockback burst, driving the scattered gold coins deep into the monster's flesh like a shotgun blast. The two men watch in awe. They realize they have never seen a player with such tremendous battle sense. Sangyan steps across the coins as the beast wobbles to its feet, asking why he is so persistent. Sangyan smiles and declares he will take this fight all the way. The beast roars and charges, but Sangyan slices through its defenses. He drives his sword down in a final strike, scattering gold coins everywhere. The system confirms the Goblin Lord's death, awarding Sangyan a level up and a new title. He checks his new title, and is surprised to receive a gift from a familiar constellation. He examines the dropped artifacts and decides to stash them to devour later, because he cannot let anyone see his ability. Suddenly, Miso Kim shouts his name, urgently warning him that they have to leave immediately because the rift is closing. Sangyan is confused at first, since rifts always close after a raid, but then his eyes widen in panic. Inside the dungeon, Sangyan breaks down over the treasure because he cannot carry it. He screams for his teammates to let him go as they drag him away. Outside the Bupion Station rift, onlookers gather. They point at the crackling portal, cheering Sangyan's accomplishment. The crowd watches the rift finally close. Nearby, Jinhao Zhou consoles a devastated Sangyan, telling him to let the Wu go. Suddenly, a journalist named Jungmin Park shoves a microphone into his face. Park asks about his feat as the hero, making Sangyan chuckle. Later, in a training hall, a mage summons 3 B-tier golems. She prepares her staff as Terry Shin faces the rock monsters. Terry pauses for a moment, eyeing her targets. She dashes forward, shattering the stone formations with rapid jabs. The golems growl in surprise as she readies her blades. Terry Shin destroys the training hall's golems. She sighs, frustrated that the mock battles are far too slow. She explains she is trained to burn today's fight into her memory. She wishes she could face Sangyan again, annoyed that Miso ruined her chance to get his number. Suddenly, a news broadcast announces that a lone player miraculously cleared a flash rift. Terry watches in shock as Sangyan appears on screen for a live interview. The reporter asks how he beat a level 150 monster. Sangyan replies that a player's level is not the only factor. Terry realizes he possesses a rare maturity. She suspects he might be contracted to a god constellation just like her. The next day at his residence, Sangyan eagerly absorbs his new artifacts. He happily secures rare skills like intimidation and backstep. Guessing his luck stat is responsible, he vows to break the old stereotype that swordsmen only rely on brute power. Sangyan remembers how traditional strength-focused swordsmen began to fall behind when strange monsters first appeared. They quickly lost their standing until Jiangsu Do, the sword demon, emerged. He shed heavy armor for agility and emphasized versatile skills to become the first all-around swordsman. Sangyan admits he was too proud to change his style in the past, but vows to abandon his stubbornness now. He immediately absorbs his new evasion gear. Looking at the mushroom soup and pepper steak, he realizes the Goblin Lord was quite the gourmand. He wonders why there are only 2 dishes, until a plate of swamp worms appears and makes him instantly regret his praise. Later, a noisy crowd gathers outside his apartment building. They demand entry, arguing that the guard let them in last time. Watching from his window, Sangyan feels his stomach churn from the monster bugs and the commotion. He decides to just lie down and rest, still exhausted from the raid. Suddenly, his phone rings, and he answers. Jae Hakim from the KPA administration team greets him warmly, reminding him they met at the Q area. He remembers her and asks how he can help. She offers him a special nameplate for clearing the rift, which leaves him feeling embarrassed because the task felt so trivial. Sangyan refuses the nameplate. He explains his actions were trivial and asks if his access to Silent Ground was approved. The caller confirms it was, warning him that the bosses there inflict silence. Years ago, Sangyan asked his former captain Dae about his late sister. Dae explained she died in Silent Ground because she relied too heavily on skills. He lamented that he could not go back in time to save her. Back in the present, Sangyan requests to raid it immediately to settle personal business. Later, Sangyan drives his new car. He bought it to avoid the stares his sword drew in the subway. Jihai Kim calls to remind him about the raid. He confirms he is on his way. She notes another staff member will guide him there. He smiles, eager to test the skills he spent the last week training. Arriving at the location, he wonders what is going on. Stuck in terrible traffic, Sangyan complains that he specifically tried to avoid rush hour. He wonders if a new rift spawned, because the congestion is unbearable. Nearby, a news crew conducts a high-profile interview. Sangyan gasps in shock, realizing the interviewee is Jiangsu Do. At Dungeon 21 in Uedo intersection, fans scream in adoration for the famous player. A reporter notes that Jiangsu is as popular as ever. She asks how it feels to be loved by fans, and he flatly calls it an honor. The reporter presses him for details on his raid tactics. But Jiangsu says nothing has changed. He explains that he simply cuts down monsters, and that is all. The blunt answer leaves the reporter stunned, though she quickly finds his demeanor charming. Her cameraman tells her to snap out of it. Suddenly, someone spots Sangyan in his SUV and yells that he must be snooping around. Sangyan realizes he got too caught up watching, forgetting that his own fame is growing. The crowd speculates that the man who recently sold a rift is here to challenge the sword demon. An aide warns Gyeongsu that the rookie's style matches his own, and Gyeongsu smirks, fully aware. A reporter rushes to Sangyeon's car, demanding to know if he came to challenge Gyeongsu to a duel. Sangyeon sweats as the reporter grills him about his new car, wondering how to escape this mess. Suddenly, Gyeongsu-do appears with an unreadable grin. Sangyeon is glad they crossed paths, because seeing the sword demon's flawless stance proves how far he still has to go. Gyeongsu-do's companion urges him to leave. As he turns away, Gyeongsu realizes the kid views him as a rival to surpass and suspects they will meet again. Later, Sangyeon arrives at dungeon number 66, known as Silent Ground. Still thinking about Gyeongsu's perfect defense, he vows to catch up to the man at full throttle. Near the entrance, a woman protests that her team's raid slot was suddenly given to Sangyeon. When Sangyeon approaches, she yells that being a hot prospect does not give him a free pass to steal their turn. He ignores the shouting, relieved he remembered his sister's face correctly because today is the day she originally died in this dungeon. As she continues to demand his attention, he realizes she is the complete opposite of her brother. A red-haired woman tells an angry man to stop yelling at her because she is only following the KPA's schedule. The man screams that he is keeping his eyes on Sangyeon-chin. Elsewhere, Sangyeon steps into the entrance of the Silent Ground. He immediately recoils from a horrible stench. A creature bursts from the ground, confirming his suspicion that most monsters here are undead. The ghoul grabs him, and he is shocked to find that mere contact disables his skills. He swings his sword and stabs the creature to break its hold. Instantly, a horde of screeching monsters swarms him. Realizing he must avoid all contact, he smirks and decides to rely purely on his basic combat abilities. In the KPA Scout Team War Room, a woman presents a hologram of Sangyeon Shin. One scout notes he made quite an impression during his stare-down with Gyeongsu-do. Another marvels that he awakened his powers just a month ago after being a mule. The team leader confirms that Sangyeon has been rising rapidly. However, the deputy leader argues that his fast development is not actually special. He advises caution, because the exact threat level of Sangyeon's Solar Rift Clear remains unknown. He suggests Sangyeon might just be manipulating the media, but someone firmly disagrees. The other scouts panic as Gahui Lee challenges the deputy for the 100th time. The leader asks her to speak, and Gahui admits she has been tracking Sangyeon. She directs their attention to the screen, promising to prove he is no ordinary player. Then, she reveals Sangyeon's projected stats, which show 11 skills and 7 titles. The men are shocked, but the deputy accuses Gahui of letting personal feelings cloud her judgment. Gahui tells her superiors that she interviewed every player who entered a dungeon with Sangyeon. In the recordings, Tae-sok Park and Juhi Kang struggle to describe his combat style. Tae-sok praises Sangyeon's stun skill, but notes that alone does not make him special. He explains that Sangyeon's true strength lies in his innate battle sense. Juhi agrees. When Gahui asks if he is simply better than his peers, Juhi protests. Tae-sok adds that Sangyeon fights like a veteran of countless battles. Gahui asks for details. Tae-sok says Sangyeon seems to already know everything. Juhi explains that while average players make mistakes under pressure, Sangyeon never leaves an opening. In the heat of battle, Sangyeon does not even need to think. He moves effortlessly, slashing through the shadowy beasts. As the creature screams, he meets its lunge head-on. Reviewing the footage, Gahui Lee notes his incredibly sharp senses. She explains that he adapts to any situation before it escalates. His instincts border on actual foresight. She assesses his battle sense as A+, at minimum. Given his rapid growth, she believes he has S-rank potential. Back in the ruins, Sangyeon stands covered in blood, smirking at the endless monsters. At the KPA meeting, her colleague slams the table. He furiously mocks her claim, asking if Sangyeon knew about the rift beforehand. He sarcastically suggests she claimed the man traveled back in time, and Gahui cheerfully agrees. A scarred superior silences their bickering, declaring that Sangyeon is clearly extraordinary. Because they need more information, he officially assigns Gahui to observe him alone. She eagerly accepts the mission. In a ruined gate, Sangyeon surveys the desolate landscape. He complains that the ghoul blood is ruining his new outfit. Then he remembers a newly acquired skill. He activates his detect ability. He wonders why he waited so long to use it. The skill reveals so many enemies that he decides to leave. Suddenly, his radar picks up a tiny insect. The fly detonates, hurling him backward. He winces from the burn, knowing he would have lost his arm if he reacted slower. Because exploding insects mean a mage-class monster is nearby, he realizes the danger. He decides he has to escape immediately. Nearby, robed skeletons laugh as they watch him struggle. Meanwhile, a colleague asks Gahui Lee about her scouting report. He points out she omitted Sangyeon's skills, suggesting the rookie obtains them entirely on his own. Gahui admits she considered that exact possibility. Back in the gate, the skeletal mage questions what will happen next. As exploding flies crash against his barrier, Sangyan complains about the messy attack. The monsters realize he defies reason, but he just smirks and declares his turn. 3 days earlier, he spent hours deflecting arrows in a training hall. Players normally keep the grinding conditions for special active skills a strict secret. With decades of future knowledge, he easily unlocked the defensive sword skill. Back in the present, 3 hooded figures watch him, and a skeletal mage cackles. It conjures more explosive insects, but Sangyan dives right through the swarm. He admits the barrier is amazing, even if it prevents him from moving forward. The swordsman raises his energy shield, catching the cloaked skeletons off guard. He pushes forward, reminding himself that there is always a workaround. The undead mages cast an inferno spell to burn him down. The green blast throws him backward. An enemy smirks and taunts that he is too late. He ignores the warning and dashes in, breaking the dark figure with one slash. Suddenly, an armored knight steps out of the shadows. The remaining skeletons crumble into ash. Elsewhere in the dungeon, Taesuk finds a purple mana stone. He knows it is worth 100 million won and decides to pocket it. He prepares to explore the deepest part of the cavern. His detection skill spots only one monster and he wonders where the rest went. He freezes in panic as 2 armored figures block his path. Suddenly, a shiver runs down Sangyan's spine as he senses a presence behind him. With no time to counter, he leaps into the air and fires a dart, hoping to guess the enemy's location. He follows up with a heavy slash. As the ground crumbles, Sangyan realizes why the other monsters vanished. They fled because the Death Knight arrived. The armored figure plunges from the sky, forcing Sangyan to draw his blade. Staring down the Death Knight, Sangyan vows he will not let tragedy strike this time, and they clash. Sparks fly as Sangyan grits his teeth, overwhelmed by the sheer weight behind the knight's strikes. The Death Knight is an undead monster that silences anyone who steps into its aura. The Association originally ranked this dungeon at level 120 because of the ghouls, but a Death Knight's power multiplies based on the soul bound to it. They eventually realize this mini-boss is actually an S-tier threat. The monster strikes Sangyan, sending him crashing into the rubble. Covered in blood, Sangyan screams in agony. He genuinely fears he might die. He lies in the dirt, sighing at how pathetic he is. He wobbles to his feet. He realizes that if he gives up now, he has not rewritten his life at all. He steps forward and asks the monster what it is staring at. Sangyan taunts the Death Knight to come at him. The knight grins and growls, stepping forward to crush the intruder. It darts across the hall, forcing Sangyan to react. He dodges the heavy polearm swing because he needs to create distance. He knows he cannot fight head-on right now because his health is critically low. He sprints down a corridor and grins when his system detects 17 enemies. He punches through the gate to reach them, realizing they hid here while their boss was away. He sweeps his sword through the screaming horde to secure his lifeline. The monsters roar, but he slices through them. He cuts down several at once and stabs the stragglers through the back. After clearing the room, his clever hunter title drains their blood to restore his health. As the armored boss strikes, Sangyan darts into the inner chamber of silent ground. He faces the remaining horde, glad he can use them to fully recover. Suddenly, the boss lunges forward. Sangyan watches in shock as the armored figure massacres its own minions. He curses his opponent, realizing the boss wiped out the horde just to stop him from healing. As the creature crashes down, Sangyan decides he has recovered enough health anyway. He spots an opening and unleashes his knockback burst at point-blank range. However, the skill suddenly cancels out, leaving him completely exposed. The Death Knight strikes. Sangyan suddenly realizes his skills are locked. An explosion blasts him backward. He barely blocks with his greatsword, losing all his regained health to the silence debuff. As he wonders if he is dying, his mind drifts. Years ago, he kneels on a ruined battlefield. He cradles the dying old companion. Old companion begs to be laid to rest next to his little sister So Yane. Sangyan orders him not to die because rescue is almost here. His old companion smiles, calls him boss, and goes limp. Sangyan screams in absolute anguish. Back in the present, he faces the Silent Knight. He admits he was wrong to hold back. He had tried to save his strength for the final boss. He vows to stop repeating his past mistakes, deciding it is do or die. Sangyan curses the beast and activates his psychedelic skill. He refuses to give up, because this fight is no longer just about his past regrets. He darts forward. He remembers the sister he failed to protect. Now, he vows to protect the people he has left, and clashes with the monster. The armored creature charges. Sangyan cries out in pain, because even a grazing blow shreds his hands. He knows he cannot win in pure strength, but the clash reveals his true advantage. He slips past the creature's guard. He unleashes a swift counterattack. The monster roars and lunges again. It swings with deadly force. Sangyan easily dodges, shouting that raw power means nothing if it misses the target. Sangyan's blade clashes with the enemy's attack, sending the armored figure crashing through an explosion. His sword arc lands a 600% critical hit. The dark figure hits the ground, and a bloodied Sangyan stands ready. He wipes his face and tells the monster to stop acting, because it is tougher than that. The skeletal figure growls, sacrificing its final ember of life to vastly enhance its physical strength. Sangyan braces himself, knowing every Death Knight exhibits a specific pattern when its health drops below 10%. The armored beast lands and Sangyan spits blood, keeping his sword leveled. He demands it get up to face its final 10-second frenzy, known as the Death Chase. The Death Knight sacrifices the last of his life force as an offering. Sangyan braces himself, prepared to weather the relentless assault. The monster charges forward, determined to crush him in its final 10 seconds of life. Sangyan realizes a single hit will kill him instantly, so he refuses to attack. He admits he is only prey right now, but he vows not to be devoured easily. Declaring that prey is never completely helpless, Sangyan bolts away from the skeletal enemy. He decides to simply outrun the beast for the remaining time. The two blur into a high-speed chase through the ruins. Suddenly, a violent impact catches Sangyan, splattering his blood across the debris. Sangyan swallows hard as the skeletal knight strikes him down from above to end the fight. He clashes with the armored foe, pushing himself to survive the countdown. The undead warrior summons a sword to finish him off. Sangyan refuses to let that happen and charges forward to intercept the strike. He deflects the blade and dodges away as the clock hits 8 seconds. The knight growls in frustration. It launches a barrage of darts to pin him down before charging again. Sangyan rushes to the onslaught, furious because he has no room to retreat. With 6 seconds left, his body screams in agony and his lungs burn. He tells himself he must hold on just a little longer, meeting the knight in another explosion. They collide in the ruins, and Sangyan cries out in pain. As the timer hits 5, a heavy hit catches him off guard and sends him flying. Trapped in the swamp of silence without his skills, Sangyan tells himself to think. He dodges the strikes and begs for any ideas to survive. Suddenly, he remembers a past life battle where he furiously complained about ghouls constantly casting silence. He whines that the fight is unfair because silenced swordsmen are left completely helpless. A female comrade scolds him for refusing a status healing artifact just because it has a long cooldown. She insists that clearing an effect even once creates a crucial opening. She tells him that making the best of unfair situations is what defines a player. Past Sangyan grabs his own head as she protests, yelling that becoming a ranked player is easier said than done. Back in the present, Sangyan smiles. He finally understands her lesson, grateful for a second chance to do things differently. Desperate to survive, Sangyan stomps down to activate his backstep skill. He launches a rapid kick to create distance. The armored entity looms over him, preparing to strike. Sangyan reaches out to grab a blue gem, but he realizes the maneuver drained the last of his mana because his relentless enemy simply refuses to quit. Facing the skeletal lord with nothing left, his grip slips. A heavy blow sends him plummeting downward to crash into the ground. Sangyan groans, severely injured and coughing up blood. The entity unleashes a barrage of lightning, and Sangyan stares in shock. He wonders if he is truly going to die here. He admits he misjudged the enemy's strength from the start, taking huge damage as a result. The enemy charges another deadly attack. Sangyan tells himself he fought well but bitterly regrets wasting this second chance to rewrite his life. Staring at the sharp claws, he awaits the end. An armored boot descends to crush him. Broken and bleeding, Sangyan can only lie there and laugh. Lying in the rubble, Sangyan thinks the fight is finally over. He feels a strange sensation as the Death Knight disintegrates and a system message confirms the kill. Here is enough experience to level up, and a system message confirms he is fully healed. However, he quickly realizes that his stamina remains completely drained. He considers pushing forward, but he knows the dungeon's final boss will slaughter him in this state. He decides to deactivate Psychedelic, hoping to endure the penalty now to recover his energy. The moment he drops the skill, the accumulated damage hits him all at once. He crashes to the ground, screaming in sheer agony as extreme exhaustion takes over. Critical warnings flash that his life is in danger, and he curses the system for not warning him earlier. Meanwhile, outside the silent ground gate, Taesok finds the long delay odd. Miso worries that something fatal has happened inside, because he should have cleared it already. Juhui groans that Sangyan must survive on his own, since he marched in there alone. A rejected constellation screams in frustration, storming away in a burst of energy. Outside, someone wonders what Sangyan is doing, completely unaware that he has collapsed unconscious inside. The goddess of luck manifests to protect him, floating down to examine his motionless body. Suddenly, gaunt monsters approach his fallen form. A screeching creature reaches for him. The goddess of luck steps in and declares that no one will harm her contracted player. The creatures screech and collapse before her. Because she cannot physically fight, she simply slaps Sangyan awake, harshly ordering him to stop acting like a wimp. She pauses to look around. Taking in the ruined, bone-strewn hall, she gasps in surprise. Realizing what they have found, she grins confidently and extends her hand. Sanyan wakes up on the dungeon floor, groggily asking where he is. He gasps in shock, realizing he actually fainted inside a dungeon. A wave of excruciating pain from the psychedelic skill forces him back down. He wonders why the flesh-eating ghouls did not devour him while he was unconscious. Laughing in disbelief, he spots the goddess of luck sleeping soundly nearby. He staggers to his feet to grab the loot and asks if he only gets a single artifact. He shouts that he put his life on the line for nothing. He complains that he did not even get a silence skill. Suddenly, he remembers a system message that appeared right before he blacked out. The notification says he gained a massive amount of experience for killing the Death Knight. He stares in extreme shock, recalling he was only level 58 after beating the Kobold King. He realizes that single fight just boosted him by 25 levels. Sengyan notes he gained experience instead of loot and declares he will be a top-ranked player in no time. He laughs so hard he coughs up blood, surprising the goddess of luck. To recover stamina, they rest by a campfire. The goddess hums happily, explaining that luck only finds those who enjoy contentment. Sangyan remembers trying that in his past life, but vows to be greedier this time. He drools in anticipation over a large bone marrow dish. He scoops out the meat, eager to take his first bite. As Sangyan laughs, the goddess dryly asks who is relaxing too much now. She wonders how he obtains such a rare ability with no growth limits. He explains players awaken unique traits, though she admits knowing little about them. The goddess assumes his unique trait came from pure luck, while Sangyan laughs about the trouble of time traveling to get it. She smiles, proud to have chosen a growth-type player. He realizes his steady growth will soon earn him national recognition, but he wants more. He thinks of Jerome, Britain's archmage who mastered all elements and stopped an S-tier rift. Sangyan gulps, knowing he cannot even lick Jerome's boots yet. He looks at the goddess and vows to make choosing him her luckiest decision. Stunned, she smiles warmly. Suddenly, she tackles him from behind. She declares their fates bound, while Sangyan screams in agony for her to let go. He struggles under her surprisingly strong grip. Deeper inside the silent ground, a skeletal ruler sits on the throne, weary of the silence. The Archlich declares his arrival. He welcomes Sangyan to relieve his weariness, promising to put him out of his misery quickly. Sangyan grins and offers to return the favor, because he is tired of this place too. The Lich unleashes a barrage of blasts, mocking his opponent for scurrying like a rat. Sangyan dodges, but one of the strikes hits him. He curses the subspace skill, hurling weapons from all sides, leaving no time to defend. Skidding to a halt, Sangyan realizes the Lich is deliberately trying to exhaust his mana. The Lich declares the fun ends here as skeletal hands rise from the ground. Sangyan draws his sword while the Lich casts a complex spell to finish him. Sangyan agrees, smirking that he hopes the monster is not afraid either. The Archlich raises its multiple arms to weave its magic. Because one-handed spells lack power, ordinary mages need both hands to cast properly. The undead monster simply grew extra limbs so it can cast 3 spells at once. Sangyan swallows hard and dashes forward, deciding he must strike before it moves. The Lich calls this a costly miscalculation and casts words of silence. Silence for 3 seconds, Sangyan grips his sword and decides it does not matter. He swings his blade, yelling that he needs no skills to behead it. The Archlich finishes its sentence as Sangyan's strike hits empty air. Using a short-range blink to dodge, the monster immediately retaliates with a predatorial blaze. The Archlich tells Sangyan he simply ran out of luck. Sangyan blasts him apart. He swings his sword to finish the fight. The Lich screams to ask how this is possible. Sangyan tells the monster he has plenty of luck to spare. The Lich collapses to his knees. He demands to know why he lost. He admits that he had a remedy for silence. He says he studied his combat style to calculate his mana limit. He argues that using another skill should have been impossible. Sangyan prepares his final strike. Outside, a woman spots him leaving the rift. The reporters yell to start the cameras because they need an interview. Sangyan stares at the waiting crowd. He wonders why this gives him déjà vu. Reporters swarm Sangyan to demand answers, while an EMT frantically asks for his MBTI. The bizarre questions frustrate the crowd, though his allies laugh in relief that he survived. Sangyan smiles, silently telling himself that he has finally repaid his debt. Years ago, Sangyan felt entirely isolated because he focused only on his skills. One afternoon, a friendly party asked if he would join their raid. They needed a substitute swordsman because their usual member ate expired kimchi. Sangyan craved belonging, but he refused the offer out of foolish pride. He wanted to prove a 10-year veteran could clear a dungeon solo. That petty arrogance nearly got him killed. Battered and bleeding, he was saved when the party leader tracked him down. Sangyan realizes that if the man had not followed him, the dungeon would have been his grave. Sanyar remembers his past, recalling how the man once followed him to keep him safe. He remembers thanking the man profusely, knowing he never would have changed without his guidance. He remembers eagerly joining the man's guild, because their vow to fight for the weak inspired him. Years later, his long-haired friend slams a table and declares he is quitting for real. When Sangyan asks how he will survive, his friend admits that watching people die is unbearable. He cries that the burden of losing members broke him, and he just wants to retire. Back in the present, Sangyan smiles and clenches his fist, vowing to help him this time. Miso warns him it will be difficult, as the young man awkwardly asks if they have met. Suddenly, the man's sister, Soyan, furiously accuses Sangyan of stealing her raid and demands he stay away. Seeing her alive, Sangyan sheds a tear and silently wishes his old friend a long, healthy life. Elsewhere, a cloaked figure warns a shadowy entity that their plan must proceed immediately. Meanwhile, news anchors announce that Silent Ground is temporarily locked down due to Sangyan's report. Sangyan smiles, relieved to have finally saved lives, and gathered clues about the late blooming scholar. Sitting alone, he reviews his new subspace pouch and the Archlich's ring. He screams in shock, amazed that he also scored a telekinesis amulet. He realizes these items will push his versatility to unimaginable heights, because no swordsman wields such magic. The goddess of luck tubs his shoulder, demanding thanks for the loot. Sangyan promises to thank her after he eats, transforming the artifacts into magical pastries. Sangyan marvels at the unusual pastry artifacts, wondering if the Archlich was a sweets enthusiast. He decides to try the golden dessert first and takes a large bite. As he chews, he realizes the infinite layers and flavors just keep coming. He happily admits these have made him completely obsessed, absorbing the 3 artifacts. Sangyan Shin smiles in relief, noting that the undead was definitely a foodie. Sangyan then checks his system. He must pair his new skills, so he attaches telekinesis to his great sword of valor. He assigns it to his basic attack. He recoils in shock. His new title adds 150 to his mana pool. Still, he worries a horde of weak monsters could drain him dry. Sangyan smirks. He confirms the pairing anyway, telling himself he cannot take the safe road to the top. Sangyan asks the goddess of luck if she summoned more constellations, because he does not want to reject them again. She denies it as 3 new figures arrive, including Peerless Beard and the Lion King, who both offer their patronage. The goddess of luck demands they leave, but the Huntress of Darkness emerges to claim him. She orders Peerless Beard to step aside, and he laughs as he makes way. Sangyan recognizes her instantly. She urges him to leave his current patron for true glory, insisting only he is worthy of her. The goddess of luck is outraged. The newcomer calls her an old hag, and Sangyan watches them bicker over supremacy. To secure a contract, the new goddess offers him valuable information about the late blooming scholar. Stunned, Sangyan grabs her arm and frantically demands to know how his former constellation is doing. A new goddess tells Sangyan Shin she met his former constellation in the slums. She explains the man was obsessed with an impending apocalypse. She offers to reveal more if Sangyan terminates his contract with the goddess of luck to bind with her instead. Later, Sangyan sits at home confused because the late blooming scholar never mentioned any apocalypse before the rewind. The goddess of luck reports that the scholar has already left the slums and rejects the new goddess's offer. Sangyan worries about his old friend, wondering why he was in a place meant for failed constellations. Meanwhile, at Hyunjong Corporation, CEO Yan Jong-han reviews the open market list and smiles to see Sangyan's name. Driving to his destination, Sangyan decides to reject the new goddess's contract because risking his current safe growth is unnecessary. Sangyan arrives at the famous HJ market. The open market allows free artifact trading, which naturally attracts scammers. Large sums of money always invite dangerous crimes. But this branch is kept safe by its owner, Hyun Jong-han, a legendary support player. Sangyan realizes nobody would dare cause trouble here. A receptionist welcomes him inside and asks for his approval code. He smiles and gives his name. She immediately grants him access to the VIP basement level 8. Walking inside, he overhears 2 men wondering why he is not with Miso Kim. One claims they are dating, but the other says Miso's ex died in an accident. Sangyan frowns at the tragic memory, hating their careless gossip. As they joke about dating her anyway, he decides to intervene. At the entrance of HJ Market, Sangyan watches security throw out protesting patrons. Hearing that they were blacklisted, he ignores the drama and decides to move on. He calls the elevator, deciding to check out the VIP level first. He knows his 3.9 billion won from Silent Ground cannot buy anything here, but he hopes seeing the artifacts will motivate him. Down on basement level 8, he admires the displays before VIP appraiser Ah Yan-song welcomes him. He feels completely out of place. Still, he composes himself and asks for a tour. He spots a blue book which Ah Yan introduces as the Epic Tier Tome of Abyss. Seeing the 140 billion won price tag, he flinches in shock. He quickly claims that a swordsman has no need for books. He declined her offer to view swords, just as he notices other guests marveling nearby. He asks what is happening, and Ahyeon explains it is a special exhibition for their newest artifact. Wondering what the fuss is about, Sangyeon steps closer, only to freeze with wide eyes as the vibrant display comes into view. Sangyeon Shin is shocked to find an almighty tier Magestone artifact listed by Jiron Decay. The starting bid is 3 trillion won. Sin-Yun realizes Jiron must possess something even better, feeling completely crushed. Moving to the platinum zone, Sang-Yan spots a pendant starting at 700 million won. Compared to the last item, he finds this price tag comforting. Suddenly, a man approaches and introduces himself as Junyak-Jiang. Sang-Yan recognizes the name immediately, remembering that Junyak becomes the famous player Perfect Storm. Junyak asks what he wants, and when Sang-Yeon says nothing specific, the man makes an offer. He pulls out a blue ring that does not suit his class. Sen-Yan realizes the other player is trying to trade directly, because that waives the market's 5% transaction fee. It is a good artifact, but Sang-Yan apologizes and declines the offer. Just then, a voice shouts at someone that they are not allowed to eat here, leaving Sang-Yan confused. She looks distressed as they ask if she thinks they want to steal a slice. The men walk off, and Sang-Yan notes that the pizza did nothing wrong. He apologizes for interrupting and asks to check her rings. He watches her eat and requests a moment to examine them. Sang-Yeon grins at the rings, realizing their ridiculous mana cost makes them useless to others. Knowing why she is camped here, he decides to buy both. He crouches down to ask the price, and she requests 1.2 billion and 1 billion won. She drops the price, claiming the pizza put her in a good mood. San-Yeon just glares silently. She thanks him for the transfer, while he credits his haggling to his past life as a beggar. He decides to leave, but she happily mentions using the money for her orphanage. Sang-Yeon freezes in surprise. She confirms she runs the orphanage and holds up her phone to show him. She proudly shows off photos of the children. Sang-Yeon stares at the screen in disbelief. It is the exact same Happy House orphanage where he grew up. She notices his shock, so he quickly claims he is just remembering the past. He mentions the place was destroyed during the Great Collapse. She explains her parents used to run it, so she recently had it completely rebuilt. She hands him a business card designed by the children and invites him to visit. Seeing the doodle of money raining down, Sang-Yeon laughs at their ambitious dreams. Suddenly, memories of the collapse hit him. He scolds himself for getting soft with age and forces the tears down. Finding deep comfort in these shared memories, he decides he definitely has to visit. Sang-Yeon arrives at the Eden Guild headquarters, where a smiling man introduces himself as Jinho-jo. Sang-Yeon politely replies, but he realizes he must stay sharp because he never expected Jinho to greet him. An hour earlier, Sang-Yeon finishes purchasing items from a seller, hoping her children will be delighted. His phone rings, so he excuses himself to answer it while the woman thanks him and leaves. Miso Kim is on the line, calling to tell him they are getting a new gate assignment. She explains it is a 2-person black gate, and Sang-Yeon immediately recognizes the name. He remembers that a player named Boa Kang first cleared it, warning that perfect partner chemistry is required. He knows his past fights alongside Miso made them the ideal swordsman and archer duo to survive. He grins, remembering that the first clear reward is an epic artifact worth at least 120 billion won. Desperate to claim the prize, he enthusiastically asks to come to the guild headquarters so they can practice. His Eden Guild guide senses an ominous vibe and asks if something is wrong. Sang-Yeon brushes it off, claiming it is nothing. The guide leads him to the 4th floor. He explains that Miso is meeting with the chairman. He brings Sang-Yeon to the special training hall to wait. Sang-Yeon notices the air feels completely different inside. The guide assures him no one booked the room today. Sang-Yeon points ahead and asks if he is sure. Terry Shin, the shadow assassin, swings her dark blade. She slashes the creature to pieces with bursts of energy. Sang-Yeon immediately recognizes her. The guide asks Terry if she booked the hall. He politely offers to wait outside as she did. Terry turns and looks surprised to see him. She admits she never thought they would meet again like this. Terry explains she arrived early to train with Miso. Terry notes that he seems to be getting along well with her. The guy tries to get her attention, but she completely ignores him. Suddenly, an idea strikes her. Tarai Shin agrees to leave. She promises to contact Sang-Yeon for a duel soon. Joe admits he never books the hall and tells Sang-Yeon it is theirs. As they cross the empty floor, Jinho suggests Sang-Yeon rest since Miso Kim is delayed. The swordsman grins and asks if Sang-Yeon wants a casual duel to kill time. Exasperated, Sang-Yeon wonders why Jinho is stripping. He wonders if everyone here just challenges strangers. Jinho reassures him it is optional. He just wants to cross blades to learn Sang-Yeon's true nature. Sang-Yeon realizes Jinho wants to test him. He appreciates the man's honesty. Jinho offers him a weapon. Sangyan declines, reaching into a subspace vortex to draw his own sword. Surprised by the rare skill, Jinho laughs loudly. He admits Sangyan really is interesting. Jinho decides to skip his warm-up and go all out. Holding back would be an insult. Meanwhile, in the chairman's office, Yoon-chul Kim sternly warns Miso to listen to him. He apologizes but argues her current path could repeat a terrible past incident. Upset by the warning, Miso tells her father not to contact her for a while. She leaves abruptly. Yun-cheol is left in shock. He immediately pages his subordinate to call in a favor with the KPA. He orders them to investigate a specific player. He demands they find out absolutely everything about Sangyan Shin. Meanwhile, back at the guild hall, Jin Hojo initiates the training mode. He proposes a 2-strike limit. This is because a short exchange reveals an opponent's true capabilities. Sangyan stares at the level 700 swordsman in awe. Sangyan remembers how Jiang Su-do revolutionized sword combat years ago. He knows many traditional fighters refuse to adapt. Instead, they push their bodies past physical limits to rely on brute strength. Sangyan understands this because he used to be one of them. He recalls that Jinho was Korea's undisputed champion of power. Thrilled to test his growing powers, Sangyan declares he is ready. Jinho praises his confidence and immediately launches a heavy strike. He warns Sangyan that a real man never second-guesses himself. Sangyan lifts his sword. He briefly considers using a defensive skill like stun. Then he stops himself and grins. Dueling Jin Hojo is a rare opportunity, so he decides to meet him with pure strength. Jinho rushes in, declaring he will start with a simple attack. Sangyan knows he cannot win a direct clash. Instead, he strikes Jinho hard from the side to break his balance. Jinho flinches as their blades lock. He smiles in sheer surprise. Sangyan could have dodged or used magic, but he boldly chose a head-on clash. Jinho declares it is his turn. He readies a completely different energy, and Sangyan braces himself for a dangerous strike. Jinho attacks, blasting Sangyan backward. He realizes Miso and Terry were not exaggerating. Jinho stomps into the ground and declares Sangyan a real man. Sangyan explains he only managed this by combining knockback burst with psychedelic and a critical buff. Jinho tells him real men do not need modesty, and apologizes for his past disrespect. His muscles bulge as he warns that he has not shown his very best yet. Sangyan realizes Jinho is preparing the exact strike that destroys a meteor 20 years from now. Jinho unleashes his trademark Starbreaker, hoping Sangyan is content to witness its incomplete form. Sangyan is thrilled, because forcing this move proves he has gotten much stronger. Knowing he cannot defend against it, Sangyan refuses to surrender. He stacks Focus Charge and Acceleration onto his combo, telling Jinho he is very content. He admits it is ridiculous to collide head-to-head with a level 700 player, but charges anyway. In the heart of the clash, Sangyan yells that he will conquer impossible odds once again. He pours his energy into his blade to push beyond his limits. Elsewhere, Miso Kim tells herself to snap out of her bad mood to focus on training. Suddenly, a tremor shakes the floor, and she realizes it came from the training hall. She dashes down the corridor and bursts through the doors. She freezes in shock at the sight of the ruined room. Amidst the rubble, Jinho laughs, amazed that Sangyan countered his full-power strike head-on. Sangyan admits his arms feel like jelly because his defense was imperfect. Jinho reassures him that the guild's medical wing will heal him before his session. Privately, Jinho is shocked to realize his skills felt only on par with a rookie, yet he feels no humiliation. Across from him, Sangyan grimaces as he remembers the sheer force of their clashing swords. Jinho tells himself that Sangyan fights like a veteran, not a rookie. Jinho laughs and thanks Sangyan for the sudden duel, because it forced him to reflect. He promises that nobody in Eden doubts Sangyan now. Sangyan asks if this was just a test, and Jinho loudly declares him a real man. Jinho immediately invites him to join his real men's club. Miso Kim suddenly arrives and glares at Jinho. She scolds him for fighting their guest instead of showing him around. When Jinho apologizes, she yells at Sangyan for agreeing to fight, so he quickly apologizes too.